You know, it's a movie about funny toys who come to life and do funny stuff.
That has never been what Toy Story is supposed to be about. Where do you target? Toy Story takes itself so seriously.
Bonnie already knows the girls from dance class, so the whole like getting bullied at the sleepover thing could have happened regardless of technology.
No, it couldn't have. Because the reason that they bully her is because she plays with toys. If the lily pads didn't exist, then the other kids would play with toys too. Did you not watch the movie? How do you miss that? The point of the movie isn't that they were mean. The point of the movie is that they were mean because of technology. It was a peer pressure for Bonnie to adapt this new technology, and that's what gets her addicted to it. If there is no lily pad, then they're just bullying her because they're mean kids. And then that's just a movie about a kid dealing with mean kids. That's not even Toy Story anymore. That's just Bonnie has some mean friends story. Alex Meyers is back. I knew this would happen. I knew he would come back. I said it at the end of the last time I covered him. He's been on a bit of a hiatus from this new Descendants movie. Doesn't make any sense. I think it was like a 3 to 4-ish week hiatus between this and his kind of comeback video was actually a news video, which was a little shorter than other ones. D23 this year was just sad. But he's been back, and the one that I want to talk about today is Toy Story 5. I think that's a good, it's his most recent video as of now, and I've seen Toy Story 5, and I know a lot about Toy Story as a franchise. I actually had not done my own Toy Story 5 video. I thought about doing so, because I saw it when it came out in the theaters. I was very excited for Toy Story 5. I would need to really, formulate my thoughts. I'd probably have to watch it again to properly judge it. The funny thing about his Toy Story 5 video is that it's a little bit of a saga because he's been doing the Toy Story videos for a couple of months leading up to Toy Story 5. See, I was not ready for Toy Story 3. I've been wrong about Toy Story 2 my whole life. Toy Story 4 is even worse than I imagined. Where's 1? There it is. No one remembers how insane Toy Story was. So 5 months ago. So he kind of, as a business strategy, he was kind of leading up to Toy Story 5 by covering the other Toy Story movies in different videos. What I think is funny about that is that he's doing all this stuff. He's trying to do these Toy Story, reviews leading up to the 5th one, but the obsession stuff happened right in the middle. So when he did this Toy Story, this was 5 months ago. This was before the obsession stuff started to harm his reputation. See how he was getting a lot more views back then. Could also just be because they are older videos. But, even his Toy Story one, no one remembers how insane Toy Story had 900,000 views. That's a lot of views. Talking about Toy Story 1 this many years later after it came out. That's, he gets numbers, especially considering how shallow I'm sure this video is. Yeah, this whole obsession thing definitely knocked him down a peg. At least I think it did. And by knocked him down a peg, I mean he was at a very high peg and he's now at a still very high peg. I mean, he's still pulling over 200K views in less than a week on these new videos. That is still a lot. That's still a very successful content creator. While I'm sure this obsession thing did bring him down a bit, even his subscriber count, I mean, it was over 4 million. It's kind of declining, but is it really declining that much? If you're over 4 million and you're 3.97 million, this is kind of the problem with people who get this big, who become controversial. And the issue is this YouTuber is so big that something like the obsession controversy, which if you don't know the obsession controversy, there's a lot of stuff about it, but it basically was that he said a bunch of stuff that was very sexist in this one video about the movie Obsession. And he also said some stuff that showed a dubious understanding of consent. There's a lot of videos that we're talking about, and I talked about it a little bit in some of my previous ones. It's not super important to this video, or even what I really want to talk about with him. That is the main problem with him that I want to discuss in this little saga. But the obsession thing was a big controversy. It was something that got a lot of eyes on him, negatively. And it certainly fazed him You know, I mean, he's like a content farm. He posts once a week at least, if not more. Very much pumps out these videos a lot. It is a part of why they are low quality, that he pumps out so many. I don't think he'd be capable of that much more, even if he did buckle down, but you know, it definitely contributes. He didn't post for a little while. Like, he's definitely shaken, but there was no expecting that he was going to stop, because when you're this successful, there are people who just don't care about the obsession controversy. They either didn't look into it, they ignored it, they maybe outright don't agree with the people criticizing him, or they just are oblivious to it. Like, you'd be surprised how some people just do not know what's going on. I mean, of 4 million people who are subscribed to him, probably a lot of them are like dead accounts, you know, like not really active, but like of however many, probably over 1 million at least, regular viewers of his, there's probably a very large portion that just literally have no idea that the obsession controversy happened, or just don't have the capacity to understand it. And they'll just keep watching his stuff. Because when you're that big, you're almost too big to fail. And he knows that. And that's why he came back to doing it. He's not going to just quit and say goodbye to this cash cow that has been his, you know, ticket to living a comfortable life for however many years he's been successful at it. Like, you know. But what I do want to ask about Alex Meyers is, has this experience meaningfully changed him in any way? I think it's great that people called this person out for the things that he said that are like dangerous. But I also think that we should just call people out for making bad content too. Like, I think that is not equally bad. It's certainly not equally bad. The other things that he did were way worse. It was deserved for sure. But just because something is worse than something else doesn't mean that just making bad content is something that we should be okay with. Because making bad content has consequences too. It does. There are negative consequences to videos that get hundreds of thousands of views being nothing more than what we're about to see in the video as we go into it. There are negative consequences to that. And I think that people should be called out for just that. There's 2 reasons why that doesn't happen as much. One, it's like not as sensationalist. It's very difficult to really call out someone just being a bad YouTuber. And 2, it's harder to identify. It's harder to, like, my whole thing is identifying that. That is what I do. I have made a part of my career as a YouTuber analyzing bad content. And the reason that happened was really just by circumstance. It was because of Sponge Truths and these AI channels that were copying like my channels, because there was so much AI channels that was like SpongeBob channels. And they copied a lot of like the kinds of videos that I did. And I saw them as direct like competition to what I was doing, but they were a very shallow version of it. And that kind of blossomed into this like analyzation of bad content that has kind of led me to covering like Alex Meyers, CinemaSins, and Watch Mojo, like these other like human made bad channels. Although I think Watch Mojo uses AI. So yeah, so that's what I'm really trying to do with my platform, is to call out the stuff that isn't as easy to call out. Something just being bad content. I think that that's enough. And I think that's why where everyone else who made videos about Alex Meyers, so he was sexist or whatever, is going to just kind of forget about him. They're just going to move on because they're going to see that he's not the big talking point anymore. I want to try and continue to be an Alex Meyers hater just because what he makes is trash. And I think that that's bad. I will call him out for the same reason that I call out No Villains Are Safe, for the same reason that I call out Sponge Truths, because really they're not that different from each other. They, you know, while like using AI is bad, of course it is. The reason that using AI is bad is because you can never clear a bar of being valid content if you use AI, because your content's going to end up being so shallow because you use AI. Alex Meyers does not use AI, but his content still doesn't clear that bar. You could still not clear that bar just by not using AI, you know, like we're kind of we're kind of getting into like sort of this like toxic positivity attitude where we're like, well, at least it's not AI. Well, like things can still suck even if they're not AI. Let's not forget that. One last thing before we get into this, I do think it's funny that I called this video Alex Meyers somehow returned when another video that I'm doing this very same week is somehow Narlene returned, because they did an episode with Narlene from SpongeBob recently. So it's just kind of a coincidence that you're seeing two videos from me very close together that are called somehow X character returned. But in a way, they're kind of similar, right? You know, like Alex Meyers, Narlene, they're both annoying cartoon characters. And they somehow returned. They were gone for a little while. People weren't sure if they were going to come back because a lot of people didn't like them. So maybe they wouldn't come back because they aren't very liked. And then they did come back. So somehow they returned. So I just think that's kind of a funny coincidence. Anyway, Toy Story 5. Should we see the comments before we get into it? To me personally, you can still tell he's walking on eggshells. Yep, the first comment is about it. Take a shot every time Alex says to me personally. You could, okay, 4 comments in a row that are all just about how he says personally. Yeah, so you can even see from like those couple of comments that like the energy is different.
Finally, I've been preparing for this for months.
Yes, he's been preparing for months. That obsession thing really put a nail in his gears, huh?
Toy Story 5 came out. I saw it in theaters. I was completely baffled by almost every decision they made in the movie. And I mean, sure, you know, it's a movie.
Almost every decision they made in the movie. That's got to be an exaggeration, right? I feel so like Toy Story 5 would be kind of a tricky video to cover because I kind of drafted a little bit of possibly doing a video on it, and like I think I'm going to cover the whole franchise at some point. But Toy Story 5 is one of those movies that would have been kind of hard to cover because you have to really dive deep in order to criticize it. There are like the Mario Galaxy movie was just egregiously bad. The Mario Galaxy movie was easy to review because it's like, here's what they did wrong. Here's how they could have done it better. Boom, you got yourself a video. But Toy Story 5, you got to really dig deep, you know? And I haven't really done that much digging deep. So I don't really get, like, I was baffled by every decision they made in the movie. Like, that's a big accusation. You got to really like, I could say that about the Mario Galaxy movie, but then you could hear me talk for 20 minutes about all of the decisions that baffled me. And you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't think I'd be able to back that up. If I started a Toy Story 5 video and said every decision they made baffled me, I think he's just saying that to make it sound like it's more than it is. And like, I get it. Like, it's hard to talk about a movie where you're just kind of like, yeah, like it had some stuff that was great and like not all of it. I'm trying to think if there's anything I covered where I kind of felt that way. Covering stuff that's straight trash, other than the fact that it gets people's attention, when I cover stuff that's straight trash, it just gives me so much to talk about with like what, because just to teach people about writing and to teach people about what to look for in their media, just saying this is what not to do is a very effective way of doing that. However, there is a value in looking at stuff that is just kind of okay and breaking down. Oh, I did just do that. I did it with Family Guy. My most recent Family Guy video, I talked about the episode High School History. This was all about like those like anthology episodes, those episodes where like it's like, you know, like Peter Griffin, but he's in the Old West or whatever, where like they just take the characters from the show and they just put them in these other settings with these other characters. Like it's a whole thing that they do in Family Guy. And I decided that for me to properly judge those episodes, I picked one that was like just okay, which was the episode High School History, which was they parodied historical wars. And that episode had a lot of problems. It definitely, it's not much of a comparison to Toy Story 5. I think that High School History is worse of a Family Guy episode than Toy Story 5 is of a Toy Story movie. You know, I think Toy Story 5 is much better in a lot of ways, but like to kind of draw in this sort of stretch of a comparison, when I talked about High School History, I found things in it that were like not perfect. And I said, here's how they could have been done better in a better episode. And I think that's probably what I would generally do if I reviewed Toy Story 5. Again, I haven't deeply analyzed it yet, so it could be approached much differently if I actually sat down and did it. But I probably would look at Toy Story 5 and find certain plot beats and certain moments and be like, okay, like if we look at Toy Story 1, if we look at Toy Story 2, if we look at how tight those character arcs were, if we look at how tight the moments in those movies were, we can kind of see how this one didn't hit it the same. And again, I don't have an example for that off the top of my head. So do not take me at face value on that, because maybe if I go in and I did that comparison, maybe I would figure out that Toy Story 5 actually was as tight, was as solid as those other films. And it would make me have a much higher opinion of Toy Story 5. This is why a knee-jerk reaction of like everything in this movie baffled me when you see it is like, it's okay to feel that way when you're leaving the movie theater, but when you're actually sitting down and writing the script and making the thing that you are presenting to a mass audience, you could maybe keep that feeling if that feeling is what persisted through the writing of said script.
You know, it's a movie about funny toys who come to life and do funny stuff.
That has never been what Toy Story is supposed to be about. Toy Story has never been a funny movie about funny toys coming to life. You can't say that about Toy Story. What are you talking? Toy Story takes itself so seriously. That reminds me of what Sponge Truth said in one of their videos where they're like, yeah, SpongeBob is just a show about like a talking sponge who makes burgers or whatever. And Sponge Truth is still wrong when they say that, but that is at least a little bit more honest of an assessment of SpongeBob. Like you could say in a good way, SpongeBob is a silly show about a fry cook who lives underwater. Like you could say that about SpongeBob, and I wouldn't lose my mind about that statement on its own, because that could also be kind of the magic of SpongeBob, is that it is so simple. It doesn't take itself too seriously. So then when the stories themselves succeed, despite it being not super serious, that is what makes SpongeBob thrive. Like you can academically analyze something like SpongeBob from the perspective of saying it's just a silly show about talking sea creatures. Toy Story takes itself seriously. Toy Story is not a silly movie about talking toys. That is never what Toy Story was supposed to be. I think that just speaks to a lack of respect towards animated movies. Or not even a lack of respect, a thought that animated movies are all the same. Because you could say that about you could say that about I want to say Minions, but I haven't seen Minions. I'm not going to flippantly speak negatively of Minions because I've never seen it. So I'm not actually going to even say it. What's like an animated movie where you could like kind of say that I think is like good? Definitely not anything Pixar. Pixar takes itself seriously. But just taking yourself seriously or not taking yourself seriously is not an inherent indicator of quality. I think it's less common in cinema, less common in movies. I think movies on their own will take themselves more seriously. You're less likely to see that in a movie of just like, here's a bunch of like silly toys coming to life or silly this, doing this. I'm not saying it can't work in a movie. Certainly anything can work in a movie if you execute it properly, but it is less common in cinema as opposed to like TV shows. An 11-minute cartoon can take itself a little less seriously. But anyway, I think we are off to a terrible start if you're saying that Toy Story is supposed to be a movie about silly toys coming to life. And also, isn't your whole point that you're going to take Toy Story seriously? You're about to take Toy Story very seriously. You don't have to preface that by saying it's just a silly movie about toys.
It's like Hoppers or Zootopia 2. There's a trend with these newer Disney.
Dude hates Hoppers and Zootopia 2. I haven't seen either of them, so I don't know if he's right. But he said this in the Mario Galaxy movie. These are like his two like go-to like hated recent kids movies. Hoppers and Zootopia 2. Again, I don't know why. He could be right, he could be wrong.
The Pixar movies that they just don't work like they used to, at least for me. And I'm not even saying like back in the 90s.
They don't work like, at least for me. So we're getting the perspective. At least for me doesn't. Yeah, I think that there is not a lot of value in saying stuff like, at least for me. I get it. Like, I'm sure I might have even said it myself. Like, I'm just really noticing him saying, at least for me, because of all those comments that were saying how he's doing that a lot. But I think if you're gonna, like, you could just make that statement. Like, it's fine. You could just say, like, if you truly believe that Disney movies have changed significantly between now and how they were when they were in an era that you thought were better. I'm not saying I specifically agree with that or have analyzed that, but if you truly believe that, you could just own it. You could just like what I'll say about modern SpongeBob. I'll be like, modern SpongeBob is significantly different writing wise than the original show. I feel like if you say in my personal opinion, you're actually weakening it. You're saying the reason you shouldn't say that is because you kind of implicitly weaken what you're saying. You kind of go, oh yeah, in my personal opinion, I think that modern SpongeBob is different from classic SpongeBob. Like, I wouldn't say that because it's not in my personal opinion. It's objectively true. If you look at how the show is made now as opposed to how it was, like it just is different, and I can demonstrate how they're different. And also, if you say I prefer the way that it's made now, it's pretty clear that that is a subjective opinion. I prefer already means subjective, so like it's just defensive, it's just defensive. We can't really expect Alex Meyers to understand the issues implicit in inserting subjectivity into objective analysis. It's just not that well known of a principle, to be honest. Like, I think that should be taught in schools. I think that like all people should be aware of that. It should be like a social rule about analysis, and it kind of isn't. So I don't entirely, like, when I say that, I don't even entirely blame Alex Meyers, because I'll rip on him a lot on plenty of other stuff. I don't have to say it's totally his fault. I'm sure there's creators I like that make that same mistake. I'm pointing it out more as a persistent social problem, that we don't have a great idea of the difference between objectivity and subjectivity in media analysis. And we kind of just assume, to protect ourselves from criticism, that it's all subjective. And I think one of the things that I want to try and do with my platform is to kind of break that and say, no, you should own if you think that something is objective. And you should say it out loud and proud. If you think that Disney movies objectively have poorer stories than the Disney movies of the past, I want to hear why. I want to hear why you think that. And there is there is a point where like movies have ratings, I don't love number ratings. I've talked about that before, but still, like, we socially accept the idea that some movies are better than other movies. This is something that we all agree on. Nobody says that all movies are equal. So what are the things that some movies do to be better than others? And, how objective or subjective those things are is, there's a lot to it. But I think reducing movie reviews to like, I just feel this way because I do is the problem. That's kind of what I'm getting at here.
Under Pete Docter, Pixar has changed direction in a very noticeable way. Pete Docter told the Wall Street Journal that Pixar didn't want to expose its young audience to things they weren't ready to see or hadn't discussed with their parents. He said, "We're making a movie, not hundreds of millions of dollars of therapy."
Yeah, that attitude sucks. I will agree with you, Alex Meyers, on that. That attitude sucks. There's so much in this quote that would be left out in terms of nuance. We don't want to expose the young audience to things they aren't ready to see or haven't discussed with their parents. There's so many times where that could be correct and so many times where you're just like dead wrong. But I do think that the second part of that quote saying we're making a movie, not hundreds of millions of dollars of therapy, I think that is so cynical. Again, I don't know how this manifests. I don't know how this was taken out of context or whatever. But yeah, I think that there's something sinister in this attitude that Alex Meyers is pointing out. Let's see if he has good ways of rebutting that. Because you can look at this quote and see that there's a problem with that. But there's one thing to look at the quote and see that there's a problem with that, and it's quite another to actually identify what that problem is. Let's see what he has to say about it.
Yes, Pixar, famous for shying away from real emotional themes in their movies. But I feel like you can really tell this change in Toy Story 5.
I feel like you can really tell this change in Toy Story 5. I guess that's fine. He brought this up. This is the framing. So he brings this up here, and he wants us to think about this quote of him saying that they want to not expose the young audience and that they're making a movie, not hundreds of millions of dollars of therapy. He wants us to think about that as he gets into what he's talking about with the movie. I can see that. So his first section is about the Buzz Army. Shows way too much footage.
Okay, now to be fair, I feel like the crashed buzzes would be a great idea for a Pixar short. A shipping container full of toys, they crash on like an island or something, they have to survive. You know, it's like Toy Story, Lord of the Flies or whatever. Could have been great, but
That sounds like a terrible idea. What are you talking about? Why? No, wait, that's such a bad idea. Are you serious? You want there to be a Toy Story where there's no people? Who cares then? Wait, the whole point of Toy Story is how the toys interact with people. What are you talking about? That would be better if they were like Toy Story Lord of the Flies? No, it wouldn't. What would the toys' whole motivation, their whole existence is based around their relationship to humans. If they were just stranded on an island, what would the conflict of the movie be? They're toys. They don't eat. They don't need like resources for survival because they're toys. The only thing that matters to the toys is whether or not people play with them, you know? And then maybe like from there, a couple of other, like Woody, you know, at the end of Toy Story 4, he becomes like a lost toy, you know, people have mixed feelings about that, but like he becomes a lost toy and his whole thing is that he helps other toys like find their owners or get fixed or whatever. And like, you know, like, so like he's kind of but it's still in service of that same goal. Like the existence of toys is about their relationship to people. So like, no, like it's one of those things where like in the moment it like sounds cool. It's like, yeah, like, oh yeah, what if like the toys all washed up on an island and they had like Toy Lord of the Flies? Like it sounds cool in the moment, but then you think about it for 5 seconds and it's like, wait, no, then the story wouldn't make any sense.
how this ties into the larger movie, I think, is so stupid and doesn't really add anything.
Buzz Lightyears don't add anything? Do they not add anything? There's the part where the one Buzz Lightyear gets found by the kid and they go to like try and rescue him and they see that he's being played with by the kid, and the Buzz Lightyear that got found by the kid gives the other Buzz Lightyear that's looking for him kind of a look of like, it's okay. So the Buzz Lightyear, they kind of learned, it's kind of similar to what Buzz's arc is in Toy Story 1, but it's with a whole group of Buzz Lightyears. I think it's just a parallel story arc. It's the Buzz Lightyear, they're finding their way in the world as toys. They're learning their place as toys. And then at the end of the movie, they all drop in on a playground and they all get owners. It's like, maybe you could criticize it as a repeat of Toy Story 1's Buzz arc, because that's Toy Story 1's Buzz arc. Did they do anything else in the movie that I think is important? I know they did a lot of plot stuff. Like they were a part of like, you know, they turned into the drones and all that sort of stuff. Oh wait, they're also a part of, they turned into the drones and they had the internet on them. They were a part of the commentary on the movie. They were more advanced than the original Buzz Lightyear. They were showing that time has passed and that they have like Wi-Fi and stuff. And I think people have said that that's kind of unrealistic. Like, why would they have a hotspot? Like, but whatever, it's a movie, you know, like I think that's CinemaSins ding. They have a hotspot. You know, but I think that was fine. I bought it, but that was like showing that the toys, they have more features and stuff. Like, cause Buzz was a very advanced toy compared to Woody in Toy Story 1. So the new Buzzes are like even more advanced than that. And maybe they could have done more than that. Maybe they could have had those new Buzzes. Like maybe the current Buzz could be like, oh man, am I outdated with the new Buzzes, you know, or something like that.
They somehow make the Buzzes even stupider again. Like they don't even know how to say words now.
Stir. Command.
It's such a CinemaSins nitpick. So the Buzzes, they learn the word star command. And there's like a moment where so he's saying that they're more stupid because in Toy Story 5, they like learn the word star command, and Buzz in Toy Story 1 could like already speak full sentences when he pops out of the box. Like, it's a CinemaSins ding. It's like taking a slight contradiction. Here's the real reason that happened. And like, you could say that this is bad. You could say that this is good. You say whatever, like, you know, you criticize it for this, but here's the real reason. It's because in the original Toy Story, in Toy Story 1, Buzz, they didn't need to have a scene where Buzz learns words. It wouldn't add to the story for him to learn words. He needs to come out of the box already speaking full sentences because it would bog down the pacing. Whereas the other Buzz Lightyears in Toy Story 5 are a group of Buzz Lightyears. And the story of that subplot is that they are learning the world around them and are learning to be toys. And also they're all together. There's a group of them. So having them start by like not speaking and saying something like Star Command further communicates that. That's the reason it happened. It doesn't make the movie like trash though. Like, does it mess up the story? Like, I can see it as a criticism, but is this really like destroying the story for you? Like, are you really clocking that as like a contradiction and it's like messing up your experience? Maybe if they just came out of the shipping crate and they were like already decently competent, maybe that would have been better. I don't know. I could see it. I could see it as a criticism.
The movie goes on from this right to another thing that I personally wish was handled differently.
Oh wait, that was like the whole section. Wait, the Buzz Army. I thought he was going to talk about the entire subplot. He just goes right. He just says, "There's a Buzz Army. They should have been Lord of the Flies, and they're stupid. They can't say Star." That is not really a criticism of the story or anything that really matters. And now you're just moving on to the Emily thing.
So we're bringing back Emily.
No. Well, like in a flashback.
I worked through all the trauma since joining Andy's family at the end of Toy Story 2, but here we are again. For me, I think that
it's a flashback.
Portrays the emotional impact that Emily had on Jessie when they show her face. In Toy Story 2, we never get a full clear shot of Emily's face during that like flashback montage song because it's not really about.
Okay, what is the context of this flashback? Is this Jessie specifically remembering this moment, or is it just the movie showing you the flashback? I don't remember. I don't remember the context of this flashback, but it's one of those two things where probably the latter. It just happened in the narrative. Okay, so there's a couple of defenses here. So in Toy Story 2, the montage of Jessie and Emily is specifically from Jessie's perspective. It's Jessie herself telling Woody about the past kid that she had, right? I believe that's what it was. I think Emily's face not being shown in the flashback in Toy Story 2 is about how it's been so long, Jessie can't remember her. Like maybe that's the point, is that she remembers the memories but not the person, because it's been so long since she's seen her, she can't even remember her face. So in the context of this flashback, if this flashback is just a flashback, like it's not even Jessie's memory, it's just showing the audience that this is something that happened in the past, because it showed the address, and the address is an important part of the movie, is they go to Emily's old house. I guess it's like kind of fine to show the face. Also, isn't there a whole thing where Emily named her daughter Jessie, which shows that Jessie did still mean something to Emily even after she gave her up, which kind of negates his criticism where he says that like the Jessie shouldn't care about Emily because like she like resolved that trauma at the end of Toy Story 2, which is not really true. It's just that she got over the fear of having another owner again. I don't think it means that she got over the trauma, like she doesn't care about Emily at all. I feel like it would like, it's almost like saying like if you have like a character and like they have like a parent who died and they're the living parent like remarries and they accept the step parent, that like that's just them like getting over the dead parent, you know, because that's actually an allegory to what it is. Like that's kind of the you know, like I mean the owner toy relationship can mean a lot of things. It could be a best friend. It could be, that's kind of the beauty of Toy Story, is that it can represent a lot of different things. But that's a way you could look at it, is it's like if you've lost someone, if someone in your life died or is gone in any way, Jessie embracing being owned by Andy is a way of her just accepting a new person, not her going, the old person doesn't matter. So perhaps being able to see Emily's face is even a part of Jessie processing that. Whereas before Andy, Jessie's perception of Emily is this faceless person who left her behind. Whereas by Toy Story 5, Emily's much more clear to her. I don't know. I guess the question would be, is it intentional? Like, was it an active choice by Pixar to go, we're going to show Emily's face when we didn't show her face in 2, and we're doing it for this reason? Or did they just forget that they didn't show her face and just kind of showed it?
It's about Jessie. It's how Jessie felt. And Emily is more like a force of nature, which is how the humans were for the toys in the Toy Story movies. Like Andy, Molly, Lotso's kid, the pizza delivery guy, the kids on the playground. Now, of course, some humans are...
Is that how they work? I mean, he's trying more. I'm actually surprised. It seems like he's trying more to like not like he's not just doing like dumb nitpicks. I'm actually surprised he's giving me something to work with. Like, it's not like that Descendants video or that Mario Galaxy video where he had like no commentary. I wonder if he's responded to the criticism that like he sucks at media analysis too. I wonder if through all this, like, because a lot of the videos that talked about him and how he viewed Obsession, they mostly talked about like the sexism and all that, but they did talk about how he was bad at media analysis. Maybe he introspected on that. Maybe that's another thing that he's working on. I don't know. He's not doing it great, but like he's trying. Like, yeah, like, okay, so the humans, I wouldn't call the humans a force of nature in Toy Story. That's very bad. It's a very poor way of looking at it. The flashback is about Jessie. Yes, it's about her feelings. But if Emily in that context is just a force of nature, then that kind of loses the emotional impact. Because she wasn't a force of nature. She was a person. She was someone who abandoned Jessie.
treated a bit more as characters like Sid or Al, but they also had a very different role in the story.
Wait, Sid and Al are treated more as characters, but Andy isn't? Actually, if anything, Sid and Al are closer to forces of nature. They are people that the toys don't care about having an emotional connection to. Like, there's never a point where Woody or Buzz want Sid to like them. Like, it never, like, they care about Andy liking them. Jessie cares about that Emily left her behind. But they don't care that Sid does because Sid's a villain. So toys can reject the owner. They can reject, like, they don't automatically like whoever happens to own them at that time. And Al from Al's, they're just the villains. They're the villains. I get how, like, he's noticing that there is a difference between Sid and Al and Andy, Bonnie, Emily, the owners, you know, the owners that they care about. But he's not fully the only difference is that those human characters are villains and the other ones are the ones that own the toys that they want to be owned by. You know, I think it's a symptom of he's trying to be media literate. He's trying to respond to this criticism of him not being a good reviewer. And he's kind of overcompensating by using these terms without really knowing what they mean. Al being more of a character than Andy is a joke, considering what 3 is about. Yeah, Andy himself has an arc in Toy Story 3. Like, Andy literally changes in the movie. He chooses to leave behind Woody.
For me personally, I feel like it was much more
impactful
to have Emily be less of an actual human character and more like an emotional force for Jessie. Like, maybe Jessie...
Wait. How did Toy Story 5 make her more of a character than she was in Toy Story 2? More or less of a character. I think she was the same kind of character in both. Just showing her face doesn't make her more of a character, but her role is similar. She does different things, obviously. Like in Toy Story 5, the main point of Emily is Jessie finding out that Emily named her daughter Jessie. That's like the big thing. That's the big thing that happens. And it communicates to Jessie that she mattered to Emily, even though Emily didn't keep her. It's like kind of the point of the movie, or it's a point of like Jessie's arc.
Emily be less of an actual human character and more like an emotional force for Jessie. Like,
less of an actual human character and more of an emotional force for Jessie. But she's both. She is a human character and she's an emotional force for Jessie because she's not really like a character. Like Andy's not even really a character, you know, and he's not supposed to be. I guess maybe that's, you know what? I think that's what he meant when he said that Al and Sid are characters, because Al and Sid are characters. You know, they're like, you know what they're about. You know what they have specific motivations. Sid wants to destroy toys. That's like his whole thing. He's got some sick kicks and he wants to destroy toys. Al wants money. He's greedy. He wants to sell the toys so he can make the money. That's like character stuff. Andy is just like a kid. Like, I guess you could maybe say he wants to play with toys, but that doesn't feel as strong. It doesn't have that much of, and it doesn't have to be. I'm saying that this is good writing. Like Andy not be, like if they went out of their way in Toy Story 1 to make Andy like a character who had like a specific motivation that revolved around Woody and Buzz, would have been a terrible direction to go with the movie. Because Toy Story is very good at having the toys not be the most important thing in the world of the humans. That's a big part of how the movies work with their world, is how indifferent a lot of the humans are to the toys, except in very specific moments, you know, like, oh, Mom, where's Woody? We're moving, and I don't want Woody to get lost in the move. Like, that's all you need.
Find out that Bonnie has no friends because she plays with toys, and toys are cringe.
Sick. Who poisoned the maid of honor?
I don't get how this footage is relevant. You say Bonnie doesn't have friends because she plays with toys and toys are cringe. And then you show the like opening wedding scene that was supposed to like establish like what playing with toys looks like. Like a lot of Toy Story movies start like that, where it's like, you know, that's how the first Toy Story movie started, is it's Andy playing with Woody. Like you see what that is at the beginning of a Toy Story movie. Why are you putting this footage when you're saying that Bonnie doesn't have friends because she plays with toys? You know, there's a scene that shows that. There's a scene where the friends make fun of her for having a toy. Why are you using this footage? Did you just put in the wrong clip?
I will say, I do think the visual change that happens during the playtime session is really cute and really fun. Like turning all the 3D models into crayon and drawn versions, like big fan, love it. Also, it always...
I guess that's fine, I guess. Again, like it's just like, can't you kind of feel how it's like, oh, here's just a random thing I can say. Oh, I like the art style. But what do you like about it? You know, like I'm not saying it's bad to like point out that you like an art style change or like a thing that happens like when it comes up when you're talking about a movie. Like it's fine. I probably do stuff like that too. I'm just a little more aware of it because I know how like hollow this channel is. That like, it just seems like you're just finding another thing to say so you can fill more of the runtime.
But like I said, we come to find out that Bonnie has no friends. Even though Pixar did an entire short about how Bonnie does have friends, and also
she doesn't have friends, even though Pixar did an entire short about how she does have friends. CinemaSins ding again. I don't know, man. Maybe she's not friends with them anymore. Whoever they are. Maybe they moved. Whoever her friends. I don't know what Disney short he's referring to. I guess there was a Toy Story short where it showed Bonnie with friends, so he's saying that it's some kind of contradiction for her conflict in Toy Story 5 to be that she's struggling to make friends. You know that you could have friends at one point in your life, and then later it will be hard to make friends. Isn't the point of Toy Story 5 that she's having trouble making friends because she's interested in toys? And the other girls that she wants to be friends with, they like the iPad stuff? Like, that could still happen, even if you had friends previously. Remember what he said at the beginning? There's so many decisions that just baffled me. Like, did that baffle you? Did you actually sit in the theater and you're like, she had friends in this one short, and now they're trying to make us think that she has no friends? Like, that baffled you?
So she sets out to see what's wrong with these kids, besides the fact that they're twins, which is kind of freaky enough in itself. And that's when she discovers that the kids have been mind-controlled by technology.
They're both just sitting there doing nothing. They ain't playing with toys at all.
So Bonnie sees these other twins, and he says that they're weird because they're twins. Weird joke. And then he shows a clip of them playing the iPads, and then he just goes into the next section. I feel like you should end your section with something you say, not a clip from the movie. This is all very weirdly structured.
Of tech versus old analog toys is an interesting one. Although, like I said, it was already kind of explored in Pixar shorts and in
the story of Toy Story 5 was already explored. So if they do something in a short, they can't make it the plot of a whole movie. Maybe they saw that there was more potential in what was originally a plot of one of their shorts in a full movie.
And in Toy Story 3, actually.
It was not explored in Toy Story. Get out of here. What do you mean? That is not a criticism. Toy Story 3 was not about technology competing with toys. Toy Story 3 was, first of all, made before like iPads were like widespread and given to kids. So like the contemporary issue that Toy Story 5 is commenting on could not have even been made in Toy Story 3 when Toy Story 3 came out, because it wasn't a contemporary issue. Also, Toy Story 3 is about Andy growing up and not playing with his toys anymore because he grew up, which is a thing that happens to everyone that the toys are aware will happen to their kids. Whereas Bonnie getting an iPad and rejecting her toys because of it is something that the toys did not expect. They thought that Bonnie would play with them until Bonnie grew up, and they accepted that as a reality. Just like how human beings accept that one day they will die, you know, like it's kind of like an allegory for that. Like that's because Toy Story is about that. Toy Story is about mortality. Eventually, there will be a time where like you are gone, and like that is the idea of Toy Story, except it's with toys, and the kids growing up and them getting thrown away is like the stakes of that. Like it just uses that to tell a story about mortality. And Bonnie getting the iPad and not playing with the toys because of it means that their mortality is now coming faster. That's why that's a conflict. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because, yes, Andy having a flip phone that got stuck in his, I think the toys hit it in the bin to try and trick Andy into playing with them. Yes, Andy having a flip phone. Andy doesn't not play with his toys because he has a flip phone. The flip phone just represents that Andy grew up. You're using this as evidence that it's ripping off Toy Story 3?
Hello?
Can I have your computer?
No.
Your video games?
Forget it, Molly.
Nah, that's... Andy had video games in Toy Story 2. Rex was playing it, and it wasn't a problem. Video games existed all throughout the Toy Story franchise. And they didn't comment on them because video games did not take kids away from playing with toys. They probably did a little. I'm sure there's like a lot, you know, there are kids who probably played more video games or split their time between video games and toys, but kids still had toys, you know, like something about like iPads and how they hijack the brains of kids is a tangible difference from how the video games that Molly is talking about here, that Andy had like, what was this, like 2030? He would have had like a Nintendo Wii or something, you know? Or when he was like a kid, like he would have had like a Nintendo 64 or like a GameCube. And he probably would have like, you know, he probably like played Melee or something instead of playing with Woody. Like I think Woody and the gang were able to coexist with that. I think that's like that. There's a reason that they didn't make a Toy Story movie that was about Andy playing video games and rejecting his toys. And it's because it wouldn't have read in the same way as how the iPad storyline would. So these are just nothing comparisons.
Given how the setup of the movie and all the marketing and all the posters and like everything was about this idea, I feel like the movie...
How dare the posters for a movie focus on its plot? When I want to see a poster for a movie, I want to know what's going on in that movie. Just say it's a movie and I'll see it. That's how I am. What do you mean? Yeah, the posters were you look at the poster for Toy Story 5 and you go, oh, they're doing like an iPad thing where like the toys get replaced by an iPad. That's topical. Yeah, and then how you feel about that plot. You want to criticize that plot? Fine. I want to hear a criticism of that actual plot. What is wrong with that plot? You could find answers. You know, you could maybe say that it didn't approach the issue well enough. I'm not going to say that right now because I haven't analyzed the plot enough to really say so. But like, maybe you could say that, you know, but I want to hear an argument for what's actually wrong with that plot rather than saying they acknowledge the plot in the marketing. They put the villain of the movie on the poster. Of course they did.
doesn't really dig into it as much as it could have. The whole technology thing is really just a plot device.
Okay. All right. There we go. There's a criticism. Doesn't dig into it as much as it could have. I want to hear the reasoning.
The whole technology thing is really just a plot device for why Bonnie has no friends.
That's not true at all. What do you mean? It's just the only role of the technology in the movie is to explain why Bonnie doesn't have friends. No, it's not. It's a social commentary on the effects of new technology on kids as opposed to like playing with toys and how that affects their socialization. Everything is a plot device. Like, I'll sometimes say this sort of criticism where like if you can tell, like I'll say this about like Alex Meyers having bad jokes in his videos, which we haven't seen a lot of bad jokes in this. We haven't seen a lot of jokes in this video, to be honest. He said like twins are weird or whatever. I don't know why he said that, but like, I think there's a little bit of a response to criticism there. I think he's putting less jokes because they called him cringe. You know, I think maybe he might be trying to meaningfully change, but he can't change into anything that matters because he's still not like, you can get rid of all of the bad stuff, you know, all the bad jokes, all of the sexism, all of the media illiterate takes. But if you're not media literate, you're just replacing it with nothing. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. But anyway, I'll like sometimes say this with like bad jokes where if you make enough bad jokes in a video, you can tell that they're just making jokes because they need to reach a quota of jokes. And being aware of that is a part of the criticism, that I am aware of that. So you could kind of say that if you're aware that something is a plot device to the point where like it's so obvious that it's a plot device, you're aware of it, that can be a criticism. But you also have to demonstrate why the plot device was weak enough that it outed it as a plot device. And I don't think that's the case with the technology in this movie. I think he's correctly identifying that it's a plot device, and he's using that as a criticism without the actual substance that criticism would mean.
The movie's not really about tech versus toys as was advertised.
It so is. Wait, it so is. Are you serious? The movie is not about wait, are you saying that because towards the end of the movie they like find a balance? Like they like that because like, yeah, like the end of the movie, and you could criticize this at the end of the movie, that they kind of come to an understanding, like the lily pad that's like the iPad, which is like alive, is like not evil in the movie. Like they're the villain narratively. But like they're like, I just want to make Bonnie happy. Like I want the same. Like the iPad says, I want the same thing as you toys. I want to just make Bonnie happy, but my capabilities are so strong that they can be harmful. So they kind of come to an understanding of like a balance for technology. And you could maybe criticize that. I'm not going to state a specific criticism about it yet. I would need to analyze the movie deeply again. But when I first saw it, I guess I could say that for me personally, like, I don't think kids should have iPads. I think that that's ridiculous to have a kid have an iPad. I think that that is bananas. I think that there is a certain thing that iPads do with YouTube and like the way that they're designed that hijacks kids' attention spans that is just super harmful. So yeah, the message of this movie being like, yeah, there's like a balance of technology, I think is, I guess I could call it like perhaps toxic nuance. But I don't want to accuse the movie of that unless I more so deeply analyzed it, because there could be a couple things I'm missing about the plot that I haven't fully, like, I don't want to accuse it of that. That's just something I thought in the moment that I would need to go through and do a couple drafts of that argument and see if it's a final argument that I would want to make, and go off of what I'm saying and either try to, you know, argue against what I just said or argue in favor of it. I could be convinced either way. I spot a 2000s Woody doll behind Jackson. Yeah, this is actually a vintage Woody doll. My mom gave it to me. She gave it to me because I was talking about doing a Toy Story video too, and I never ended up doing the Toy Story video. I might do it at some point. It'll be in the background for that. It ended up in the background of my Home Away from Home video, where I talked about Toy Story in it. I think it's a Toy Story 2 Woody. Look, it even has, I don't know if you can see it. Look, it even has my name on the bottom. Like Andy did. Like, I actually put that when I was a kid. I think it's from Toy Story 2 specifically, because it came with a guitar, like the guitar from Woody's Roundup. So I think it's but yeah, I had this from when I was like a little kid. Perhaps he's saying that the movie doesn't go into technology versus toys because they come to an understanding at the end. Like, you know that a movie can be about two sides being against each other and one side doesn't have to win for the movie to be narratively sound. Like, you can criticize how one side didn't win as a narrative, but to say that the movie didn't do what was advertised. It absolutely, like the advertising where the iPad is like standing over the toys and the toys are all scared, that is absolutely delivered on in the movie. Like that is just undeniable. How well it did that is the question.
It's the only one out there still playing with toys. Don't worry. We're safe.
Are we sure about this?
This is just so funny to me. Like that, like they see their daughter having no friends, and they're like, "Well, shoot, let's get her an iPad. Problem solved." But then we meet the.
Are you wait? Do not clown on that. Wait, that is you're so dude. That scene was so earned. What are you talking about? It's like a big deal to buy your kid an iPad. A lot of parents are nervous about that when they buy their kids something like an iPad or a cell phone. Like that's a big deal. That's a huge decision when you get your kid like access to the internet to like socialize with other kids. That is a huge decision. Don't like giggle at that. Like that's like a silly moment in the movie. And also that's like the main conflict of the movie. Yeah, it's a little focused on that the parents are like, I don't know, should we do this? Which, by the way, that is realistic that a parent would say that before buying an iPad for their young child. Absolutely. Any responsible parent, at least. It's the parents that don't say that. I mean, I think parents shouldn't buy iPads for their young children anyway. But, you know, like, at least if you're going to give it the weight of the decision that it deserves, at least that's better, you know? Or like if your kid's like 13 or 14 and like, you know, they're a little older, and it's like, I mean, internet access is very dangerous. It's like, it's not a decision to take lightly. I don't know why you're making fun of that. And it's also a important part of the plot. Like that's a moment that defines the rest of the plot because the lily pad is taking over the place of the toys. So it not only makes sense that the parents would react that way, but it also puts the audience in this position of, something's gonna change. Again, like that baffled you? Like in the theater, like that scene baffled you? Like, I'm still looking for the parts that are actually bafflingly bad. You know, I could give you a couple criticisms, you know, like maybe, but like you didn't even go that in depth on them, you know, like maybe it could have handled Emily better. Maybe it could have handled the Buzz army better, you know, maybe it could have handled certain things better, but like I am not getting baffled and I am not getting deep reasoning for the things that could be wrong with it.
Me and the toys have been working all summer to try and get Bonnie to make friends with the Jordan twins across the street.
Yeah.
But then you had to ruin it with all your stupid... You're not even listening to me.
Oh, no.
Now, LilyPad is one of the biggest.
There was no reason to put that whole clip. No reason to put that whole clip. Oh, is this gonna be the bit the whole time? Putting the Club Penguin ban on the LilyPad screen? It was kind of funny the first time. Are you really going to do it every time it pops up? Let me see. Maybe it's just the first two. Oh, I don't see it in any other drawings. Okay, maybe he doesn't do it again.
And actually, LilyPad as a character is not really in the movie all that much. Like, they could have tweaked the story.
She's in the movie a lot. I don't know what you're talking about. And like, yeah, she's the villain. She was marketed as the villain. Okay, like she didn't end up being evil. She had a redemption arc. That's it. She had a redemption arc. Can you not market a character as a villain if they have you're not supposed to know that they have a redemption arc going in the movie? Should they have marketed that she had a redemption arc? Should they have spoiled that the character has a redemption arc? This is ridiculous. She was the villain. The marketing did not lie about that.
Could have tweaked the story slightly and had it be almost the exact same without her at all.
Dude, did you even watch them? What are you talking about? Me when I don't understand story and themes. Do you think the whole point of the movie was just Jesse going to Emily's old house and then going back? Like, it wasn't about the physical journey. There's also an emotional journey and there's social commentary. There was so much that would have been missing from the movie if they didn't have LilyPad in it. It would have just been a different movie. And maybe you didn't like the movie and you think that it should have been different, but saying that it could have been the same movie but not had... that is an asinine take. I can't believe I was giving the benefit of the doubt earlier. This is the problem when it's like, yeah, I'm like the cartoon reviewer. I review all the Disney animated movies. And then it's like, all right, time for Toy Story 5. I need to talk about Toy Story 5 for 36 minutes. And you have nothing to say about it. So you started off by saying there's so many things in this movie that baffled me. And then you grasp at straws to find these criticisms, most of which aren't even valid criticisms. And then the criticisms that are valid, you don't possess the capacity to analyze. It's really, he's a very interesting specimen. I'm so glad I started covering him because of this obsession stuff. I would not have even had him on my radar.
Bonnie already knows the girls from dance class, so the whole like getting bullied at the sleepover thing could have happened regardless of technology. Or like when she gets lily padded.
Dude, wait. No, the point No, it couldn't have. Because the reason that they bully her is because she plays with toys. If the lily pads didn't exist, then the other kids would play with toys too. The only reason that those other kids don't play with toys is because they have something else that replaces the toys. Are you serious? Did you not watch the movie? How do you miss that? What would they have bullied her about? And then what would the movie have been about? Just that those kids were mean? The point of the movie isn't that they were mean. The point of the movie is that they were mean because of technology. It was a peer pressure for Bonnie to adapt to this new technology, and that's what gets her addicted to it. And that's a real problem. Like, that's a real issue, is that there are probably kids out there that would have enjoyed playing with their toys, but because other kids have iPads and the parents feel pressured to buy their kids iPads themselves because all the other kids have them, oh, like they have an iPad, why don't I have one? And there's all this peer pressure to give the kid an iPad. They get the iPad, they get addicted to it, and then they don't play with their toys anymore, and the toys are actually good for their mind. If there is no lily pad, then they're just bullying her because they're mean kids. And then that's just a movie about a kid dealing with mean kids. That's not even Toy Story anymore. That's just Bonnie has some mean friends story. And you could do a movie about that. You could do a movie about a kid who goes to a dance class and the other kids are mean to her. Like, that could be a kid's movie. Sure, I could see that, but it's not going to be Toy Story. I probably wouldn't see it. It's not exactly, Pixar material. I guess it could be like an Inside Out movie. Because then it would, but then that's another thing, it's like another part of it's weird.
Like when she gets lily pad itself, it shows her being addicted to it more and more. But again, the effects of
technology. What is it? Why another Club Penguin? Why are you so short? Is there a Club Penguin thing where what is this joke? I got the other one. It had the you're banned Club Penguin, because that was like a thing in Club Penguin, where if you cursed in Club Penguin, it would ban you. So there was always kind of memes about getting banned on Club Penguin back in the day. Why are you so short? I don't know, man. He's just very unfunny.
of technology. It's something they very lightly touch on, and then the movie goes off to be about something that's not really related to that very much at all.
I have no idea what you're talking. The movie was all about that. That was the whole movie.
I keep having the same issue with a lot of movies lately where it feels like, to me personally, they try to
he does do it a lot.
Cram in a lot of different stuff in the movie, and they try to link it together after the fact. So
that's not to you personally. If the movie does that, it does that. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If you're watching a movie and it tries to put in a lot of stuff that isn't specifically related to its main plot, then the movie does that. Whether you perceive it or don't, it still does that if it does that. What you mean is, in your personal opinion, you don't like that it does that. And you should explain why. If that even is the actual issue. You could be incorrect that it's there, but then that's just you not perceiving the movie correctly. Duh, humans. I only roll my eyes at this because he's very not funny otherwise. I feel like you have to be likable to say stuff like the humans,
This movie makes the humans much more prominent and tries to make them into full main characters alongside the toys.
Yeah, they did kind of do that. Yeah, they didn't really do that in any other Toy Story. Why is that bad though? Something being different from what it did in previous movies is not bad. Toy Story 5 had a story that was able to give the humans also an arc, because Bonnie herself was actually dealing with something pretty serious, which was her friends would reject her if she doesn't have the lily pad, if she says that she plays with toys. That's a part of her arc. Whereas in Toy Story 1, Andy doesn't have an arc. Andy's just worried that Woody and Buzz won't be there when he moves away. And I think both work. I think both work just fine.
Toy Story series were never like full characters. They were more like Greek gods or forces of nature. Like Andy gets...
Call them a force of nature again. They were more like Greek gods. It's not a terrible comparison. There is some element of the humans in Toy Story being gods, like from the toys' perspective. I completely disagree with forces of nature. I think that's just silly. Kind of like just like their power, like they decide the fate of the toys. Like that is a thing where it's like Andy decides Buzz is more favored than Woody. In that context, Andy does kind of represent God. And sort of like how God represents the universe, because you can't prove that God exists, but like God represents the universe. Like if you have a show or if you have a movie that is about God and you have a literal God in a story that makes a decision for someone's life, the God making that decision represents the universe making a decision that is more powerful than you. That's what Toy Story 1 is about through Andy. Through Andy representing God, which represents the universe, Buzz is favored over Woody, and Woody as a character is challenged to accept that. And when Woody fails to accept that and tries to hide Buzz so that Andy would favor him, Woody is punished for that. And when Woody accepts Buzz for who he is, and that Buzz is the more favored toy, he is rewarded, and him and Buzz get out of the situation and they end up with a happy ending. Force of nature is maybe like force of the universe, the will of the universe, I get, but calling them a force of nature does remove the personal element to them. Because even in the way I just described it, where Andy represents God and God represents the universe, there still is a personal involvement with Andy that you don't exactly get when you just say it's a circumstance of the universe or it's a force of nature. They're not really characters. They're like Greek gods, as if the Greek gods weren't characters in Greek mythology. True. You're so right. The Greek gods are characters in Greek mythology, very similar to how the humans are in Toy Story. You're so right. It is a correct comparison, because in Greek mythology, the gods are much more powerful than the humans, or what those gods represent in relationship to the humans is like great power over a specific thing. So they are like Greek gods, they just are also characters.
Andy goes to cowboy camp like a friggin' nerd, which...
His jokes are so... It's funny because his jokes are way less in your face, but they're also still not funny. He goes to cowboy camp like a... Isn't he like 9? Like, lay off? What do you mean he goes to cowboy camp like a nerd? God forbid a kid have hobbies.
His parents are just the most nothing characters. They're completely one-dimensional. Bonnie also...
Okay, the parents weren't really supposed to be that major, though. It's really just Bonnie. It kind of begins and ends with Bonnie and the other girl. What was the other girl's name? Blaze? It was like Blaze or something, right? Wait, hold on. So you just complained about the parents being one-dimensional, but the parents are a lot more like the human characters you just praised. Like Andy or Andy's mom. I know he didn't say Andy's mom specifically, but they're kind of similar to Andy's mom. The parents aren't driving the story. Like, notice how he didn't say that about Bonnie, because Bonnie is an actual character. And she's not supposed to be like a super like deep character. Like, she's supposed to be a kid who doesn't want to play with toys anymore because she got an iPad. Like, that is an arc, you know, like that does have an arc, but it's not the same. It doesn't have to be as much as the major characters like Jesse or Buzz, you know, or those characters. So I don't know. It's just off, you know, saying like, oh yeah, like I like how the human characters in the other movies weren't as major, and then you say that the parents are one-dimensional, but like that's the thing you just praised.
In my opinion, very one note, very
In my opinion.
underdeveloped. Now, Andy in characters, they're completely one-dimensional. Bonnie also, in my opinion, very one note, very underdeveloped. Now,
She's a kid who got an iPad and doesn't play with the toys anymore. I don't know what more they could have done with her. I would agree with you if Bonnie was the main character of the movie, but she's not. She is the kind of like protagonist of a specific part of the movie, but she's not the protagonist of the movie. That would be Jessie. Can kind of have like subplot, protagonist, character arc, sort of stuff like that. And in fact, I would say Bonnie is as much of a character in Toy Story 5 as Andy is in Toy Story 3, give or take a couple of things with that. You could maybe say Andy's role is more impactful in Toy Story 3. It's more emotionally resonant. You could say that. I could give you that. But as far as like if they're like there in the movie, like if they do something or like what they're like presence in, it's like, yeah, they have a parallel arc to the main toy character of their respective movies. And they themselves, the human character, Andy in 3, Bonnie in 5, make a decision at the end that impacts the toys. It's kind of the same in either way. And Andy isn't really a character in any of his movies. He's just a kid who's going to college. That's all Andy is in Toy Story 3. He's just a kid. He doesn't have specific motivations or dream. We don't even know what his major is. You know, like you don't know that much about Andy other than he's just a guy who's going to college who liked playing with toys as a kid.
Andy was also very shallow and very one note. But like I said, he was never...
Okay, he referred to Andy. I wouldn't say Andy was shallow. I think that's a very poor wording. Because shallow to me means that the writing was flawed. Like if I say Alex Meyers' reviews are shallow, I say that in the sense that they should be something, but they aren't. That's why they're shallow. I guess definitionally it's correct that he's shallow because he's not a deep character, but I wouldn't refer to Andy. Like I would feel weird if I was talking about Toy Story 1 and I referred to Andy as a shallow character. Because I think that implies that he's not what he was supposed to be.
Like Andy's mom was a very fun, interesting character in her own right. She was...
Can I help out the gas?
Sure, I'll even let you drive.
Yeah?
Okay, so Andy's mom had a couple of quips in Toy Story 1. That would be what you would care about. That would be all you would care about, Alex Meyers. Andy's mom is a good character, while Bonnie's parents are bad characters because Andy's mom had some quips that were funny and Bonnie's parents didn't. Because that's the only meaningful difference between them.
Skateboard? Ollie. Little League trophy? Probably attic. Apple core? Trash.
But all the adults in this...
Yeah, I mean, they're good quips. Yeah, sure. They should have written a couple more quips for Bonnie's parents that were on par with those two lines you found. Did they? Were there? I feel like if you look between Toy Story 4 and 5, I bet you could cherry pick two lines that are on the same level as those two moments. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not, but that's not like a real criticism. Like that's not a criticism of them as characters. That's it. They don't have like quips. I'm going to need a little more than that for you to condemn the existence of the entire characters.
Actually, all the humans in general are largely nothing characters. Even Blaze and her family, who we meet much later. The movie spends so much time on them, and they really try to get us to care about them like a lot. To me,
should they focus on the human characters or not? Which is it? You just said they make the human characters too much of characters in Toy Story 5. And then you say, I liked it better in the earlier Toy Stories when the human characters weren't really characters. And then you go on to complain about how the human characters in Toy Story 5 aren't enough characters. Isn't that the human characters following the thing that you said made you like them? Is it because they made them kind of characters but not enough? Like they had to commit all the way? And if so, how did that harm the story? Like I think the fact that the human characters were just a little bit more of characters than they were in previous Toy Stories, I think that was enough. Like I think that's what made them work because the movie is about the toys.
Personally, I feel like Pixar movies are usually at their best when they're about...
Dude, so much personally. Wow.
The hidden world that exists around humans, you know, like...
They're at their best when they're about the hidden world that exists around humans. And Toy Story 5 didn't do that. Didn't do that. Just, it was all about the humans in Toy Story 5. You said that the Buzz Lightyear army shouldn't have been in the movie, which was like the most of this thing that you're praising.
But similar to the issue I had with Inside Out 2, when they take a hidden world movie, but they try to make the humans as equally important, and
He didn't like that they did that in Inside Out 2. You didn't like that they did that in Inside Out 2? Wait, Inside Out 1 did that. Inside Out wouldn't make any sense if Riley wasn't more of a character. They're literally her emotions. You can't have her not be a character. Like Inside Out, just in the way it's structured, has to have the human that is in connection to the hidden world be an important character. You didn't like that in Inside Out 2? That's ridiculous. That is absurd. Like the only reason that Inside Out 2 happened with like anxiety and like the new emotions is because of that Riley had a story at all. What is the whole movie just supposed to happen inside Riley's head? It makes no sense. I think I just realized the problem with Alex Meyers.
they try to make
one
the
of
human...
many. He has to criticize something in order to make his videos. Any movie. Because he just criticizes every movie. Like if I watch something and I don't think I have a criticism for it, I probably would just not make a video about it. Or if I didn't have something to say, like it doesn't have to be a criticism, because I can make a video where I talk about if something is good, you know? But like, if I didn't have anything to say about something, I probably just wouldn't make a video on it. You know what I mean? But Alex Meyers can't do that. Alex Meyers, well, he could do that. He chooses not to. Alex Meyers just does every movie, every Pixar movie, every Disney movie, every Disney Channel original movie. He's there. He's got something to say, and it's got to be spicy. So he finds stuff that is just not a real criticism, which is the humans were more prominent in Toys. That was all that section was. The humans were more prominent, and I didn't like the parents because they didn't have quips. And he has no textual evidence, no analysis of how the story was affected by this. And then he ends off by saying that in Inside Out 2, it shouldn't have focused on Riley. It should have just focused on the emotions. Like it's just because he has to say something. He has to go into the narrative of there were things in this movie that baffled me. So he could say that at the beginning of the video and he can justify making this garbage. Corey in the house for a Nintendo DS. Yes, you're so hilarious, Alex Meyers, for pointing out that it's funny that Disney's Corey in the House had a game for the Nintendo DS. You are so hilarious for pointing that out. No one's ever pointed out how weird that is.
in the house, and Jesse is none too happy about all that.
It's in the house, and it used the Club Penguin thing again. Look at that. Another Club Penguin on the screen. No, he keeps doing it. At least he's doing different screens. This is where I dump the bodies of my victim. Okay. So unfunny.
I just want what's best for her.
I think I know more than a green calculator what's best for Bonnie.
Really?
Yeah, really. I got 3 kids worth of know-how. Bonnie, before that Andy, and before that Emily.
Oh man, this is just so stupid. Like, it makes...
What is stupid about that? Wait, what is stupid about that? Saying that her actual experience with kids should make her the authority over the lily pad, which is a computer. Like, why are you saying that's stupid? Why are you making this face? That is something that is worth pointing out in media, the difference between having actual lived experience and technical know-how. That is a meaningful conflict.
Even if this had been a thing, Al would have cleaned that off in the second movie like he did with Woody, okay? And like, it's...
CinemaSins ding. Al would have cleaned it off. Al would have had it clean. Maybe not. Wait, Al called the guy. No, actually, first, that's not even a good CinemaSin. That is not even a good CinemaSin for so many reasons. Okay, so wait. So you're giggling. I thought he was responding to the fact that like she said that she had 3 kids of know-how. Because you use so much of the footage that like, why are you showing me the context of the whole scene? If you're gonna CinemaSins that she still has the address on her leg, then just show that. Don't show the whole scene to pad your runtime. You know what? I'm going to debunk it. I'm just going to debunk it. I'm going to debunk it, and then I'm going to say that it doesn't matter. But I'm going to start by debunking it. With any sort of logical inconsistency, there's two things to always discuss with any logical inconsistency that someone wants to point out in a movie. You need to discuss how it actually is logically consistent, and then you need to discuss how, by looking for these logical inconsistencies where they aren't there, it betrays that you are not looking at media correctly. So I'll start with how it's not logically sound, what he's saying. So in Toy Story 2, Al calls the guy who's like a toy fixer, and there's like this whole scene that, you know, it's a very like well animated scene where the old man fixes Woody, he repaints him, he fixes his arm, he does all this stuff. In Toy Story 2, Al called that guy specifically because Woody's arm was ripped. Now, that doesn't mean that he didn't call that guy to work on Jessie too, because Jessie was also being sold to the museum. In fact, I think we could extrapolate that he did for the other ones. But at the same time, I think you could miss that.
And before that,
like, look how you have to open it up and look. Like, this would be hard. First of all, this would be hard to get rid of. Even if you are that guy, if you're that dude, like if you're the old man, let's say he saw this, how would you get rid of it? You'd need new fabric. You need a new like thing. Like that wouldn't be easy to get rid of. And also you could very easily not notice it. It's inside of the thing of her. I bet, you know what? Not only is that like incorrect if you look at it, I bet that when they made this choice that Jessie was going to have Emily's address written inside of her bootstrap here, I think that Pixar remembered the thing from Toy Story 2 that Al had a guy clean them, and they specifically chose a spot that would have been easily missed. Not only is this not a valid cinema sin in the sense that you could debunk it, I think that the people behind this movie were aware that that would be a contradiction. What he said at the beginning of this video was, there are parts of this movie that I sat in the theater and I was baffled. That's what he said. And this is his evidence for that? A random thing that like can kind of contradict a small detail from 3 movies earlier? And when you're looking for that, when you're watching a movie specifically to look for that, you are not thinking about the story. You are not considering the actual things that you should be talking about when you are reviewing media.
She never made any indication that she wanted to go back home to Emily or that she could. So why are we doing this now?
That's not what she said in the scene. Are you saying that that's a criticism because her showing that Emily's address is in her leg is just saying I had 3 kids before? She's just showing the evidence. She's just saying, look, see, Bonnie put her name on my boot. Andy's name is still on Bullseye. And here's my first owner's name. That's all she was saying.
And then the movie shows it to us again, like so many times in the movie.
It shows you because they go to the address. Of course they show it to you. Alex Meyers, when he watches Finding Nemo, they just like keep saying P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way. Like they just won't stop saying it. Like, because it's important is why they're saying it. 1200 Ranch Road. It's important in the story. It's the reason that the old people bring Jessie to that house. It's a major part of the plot.
Like, just in case you forgot from 5 minutes ago, here it is again. Anyway, so
literally, you could say they were Finding Nemo. Just in case you forgot from 5 minutes ago, here it is again. P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way City. Movies do that all the time.
Getting lily pad, Bonnie is joined
again with what is this animation? My contempt. Again with it's always a Club Penguin thing. He is always doing. I even questioned earlier. I was like, I don't think he does the Club Penguin joke again. He does. Every time. Sometimes it's another stupid frame, but it's mainly this one.
Which again makes no sense because Bonnie already knows them in real life from dance class. So
what even is media literacy? That's not even media literacy. That's just literacy. Alex Meyers, do you have object permanence? He's saying that it's a contradiction that Bonnie is becoming friends with them because she has an iPad, because she knows them from the dance class. Dude, that's the point. The point of the movie is that she is able to connect with them more because of the iPad. And that's like the social commentary. And they didn't want to be friends with her because she didn't have an iPad before.
Oh, you still play with toys?
Girl, shut the fuck. This actually brings...
That's an actual thing that happens. Trying to say that kids don't play with toys, they play on iPad. Me when my Toy Story movie has a scene about playing with toys. Tell, don't, show at all, ever. Show, don't tell is like the most misunderstood quote about writing ever. People will use it to nitpick like every time a character says something. Show, don't tell is a general rule. If you are a writer, show, don't tell is something that you should ask yourself whenever you put something in your script that is some kind of exposition. Basically, you just ask yourself the question, is there a better way? Is there a better, more effective way of me communicating this information? And if the answer is yes, do that. If the answer is no, it's fine. I just hate when people like Alex Meyers, who clearly know nothing about writing, who do not even remotely understand the craft of writing, use phrases like show, don't tell, because it makes you sound like you know something about writing when you say that. Or like when he said earlier, I know it's just a plot device. Like these words make you sound like you know stuff about writing. I do it myself. I use the terms, I use character arc, themes, I use all of these like literary terms, these collegiate level literature terms to describe stuff. But I actually know what they mean, and I know where to use them. But if you just throw them in to try and make yourself sound smarter, which is what I assume he's doing with show, don't tell. I mean, maybe he makes a great point. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of already poisoning the well before he even talks. I guess I'll have to see what he says. Let's see what he says.
Goes to the sleepover. We learned long afterwards that she gets bullied. They play hide and seek and they just kind of ignore her and leave her outside like all night. But we never get to see any of this.
You didn't see it because you don't need to see it. See, already, like, it's just so you didn't, it's exactly the point. You didn't need to see Bonnie get bullied. You see her come home and she's sad. Actually, that is show, don't tell. That is like the principle of show, don't tell that I literally just described is what happened when they wrote this movie. They did that scene where Bonnie gets home and she's sad because they were mean to her. And they asked themselves, could this scene be communicated in a different way? And they said, nope, this is the best way to communicate this scene. And I think it was.
Experience is understandably meant to be a major emotional part of the movie. However, we, the audience, don't get to participate in this important character moment. All we see...
Wait, that is not... Wait, you're so lying. You're just lying.
Emotional part of the movie. However, we, the audience, don't get to participate...
It's supposed to be an important emotional part of the movie. It's not, though. Like the parts that are the emotional parts of the movie are the parts that we see. We see her like cry. We see Bonnie show emotion based on what's happening. Those are the emotional parts of the movie. You're just making that up. You're putting this scene that they didn't show because it wasn't important to show on a pedestal, saying that it's supposed to be this important scene, but it's not that because there's other scenes in the movie that do that. So you're just lying.
All we see is this scene right here.
No, this is all wrong.
Which to me personally.
Yeah, well, I think that this scene works, and I don't think that personally. I think that's true for everyone, including you, and you're just acting like this is some kind of criticism because you're a YouTube grifter, and you're just trying to make money off of your YouTube channel that inexplicably got popular because you took advantage of trends and cynical movie reviewing.
It's just such a bad scene. Like the way it's storyboarded is so boring. It's so flat.
The way it's storyboarded is so boring. It's so, oh, he's trying to do an art direction here. Oh yeah, because he's an animator. So he knows art. Look, I mean, look at this. Look at such shots as this. Yeah. From the mind that brought you this, you're going to lecture me about shot composition. Give me a break. It's literally showing exactly what it's supposed to. The lighting of it, the way that their faces are like kind of lit up by the iPads, the fact that the three girls are on the couch and Bonnie is sat over here, separated from them. Don't know what's wrong with this shot composition. You are just saying things to say things, and you're trying to sound smart. Oh, it's not storyboarded right, but it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. But that'll just get past people. They'll just watch this and they'll be like, it wasn't storyboarded right. Yeah, it wasn't storyboarded right. He said storyboard. He must know what he's talking about. He doesn't.
As a very small, simple example that I think illustrates my point well, here's this scene from the movie 8th Grade.
Hi, you're Mark's girl, right?
Yeah.
Oh, your dad was such a huge help with the spring fundraiser. Thank him again for me, will you?
I will.
What's your name again?
Kayla.
Right, Kayla.
Like the way the camera's positioned and
Okay, so yeah, he's showing a scene where the mom is talking and the focus of the scene is this girl who is not saying as much because she's supposed to be annoyed by her mom, so the mom's out of focus. Okay, so you're using a different scene that did a different thing. So you're just saying that this scene should have had some character be out of focus? This scene where Jesse's looking in a window to see what's happening with Bonnie? How would it have even done that?
tells us a lot about how the main character is feeling in this moment. This scene here.
And this scene also tells us a lot about the main character's feeling, or about how Bonnie is feeling. I guess Bonnie's not the main character, but it's telling us about how the main character in this scene is feeling.
In Toy Story 5, it looks like a commercial where like all the kids and all the devices are flat to the camera. They're all on the
It looks like a commercial. How?
same line of action the whole time. Actually,
They're all in the same line of... Oh, that's why he put the like that, right? Wait, he's literally demonstrating they're all in the same line of action like that's a bad thing. It's so your eyes looks at all of them. What are you talking about? He's just finding things to say things.
feels a lot like the storyboarding for much of the movie was done by AI, which I know is a bit of an overused.
Get out of here. It's funny that he says this. I think that that's a very bad statement when it's used wrong. When you say this is like AI, to say as a synonym for I think something was bad. When someone says this was like AI, when saying like something is bad, like people said this a lot about the Mario Galaxy movie, and I reject it for the Mario Galaxy movie. They're like, oh, the Mario Galaxy movie, it might as well have been written by AI. I don't think that. I think that the Mario Galaxy movie is bad, but I don't think that it was written by AI. And I don't say that about Alex Meyers either, because Alex Meyers' videos are bad, but they're not written by AI. Because I professionally critique AI channels, and they are different. When I accuse No Villains Are Safe of being AI, even though in the description of their videos, they're like, we proudly don't use AI. I accuse them of being AI because there are tells in their video that make it seem like it's AI. AI doesn't just mean it's bad. Like that's not it's like AI means that there is a specific kind of shallowness that was procedurally generated. And you could say that about something that a person wrote. You could say that about things that are not AI. For example, there are some times where there are modern SpongeBob episodes that are so flat and so lame that you could say not that they are written by AI, but say that they might as well have been written by AI. And I think that would be a legitimate criticism. And having looks like AI as a synonym for it's bad or it's just not very good is not productive towards any sort of conversation about criticizing that thing or about AI in general. Now, when I say that Alex Meyers is as worthless as AI channels, but I only say that because they both don't clear a bar. Like Alex Meyers is just no substance content and No Villains Are Safe is no substance content. In that way, they're the same. But I don't say that Alex Meyers is like AI because he's not. I say that it's as little substance as AI could produce, but that is a meaningfully different statement. But saying that like the shots in Toy Story 5 might as well have been done by AI, you just don't know what you're talking about. You just don't know what AI does. You don't know why it's a problem. You don't know what is wrong with Toy Story 5 shot. If there is anything wrong with Toy Story 5 shots, like you just have no understanding of the things you're talking about.
Criticism. But Netflix did just get in hot water for posting a job.
Oh, we're getting conspiratorial.
opposition, specifically looking for someone who can use AI to make storyboards. And if Netflix is doing it, you know Disney's doing it. In fact, one of the co-founders of Pixar is now heading up an AI film festival, so I'm just saying. But anyway, so going back.
Yeah, you're just saying because you're not saying anything else. You're being conspiratorial. That is such bad thinking. And look, we can I'll even bring up something else. This was a controversy recently. The Spider-Man Brand New Day art book had AI in it, or allegedly had AI in it. I guess I won't even go so far as to say it definitely did. So he's referring to a real problem, but he literally just accused Toy Story 5 of using AI. I'm going to need more evidence to that than I didn't like some of the shots and Netflix was caught doing it. And also a co-founder of Pixar who was that co-founder of Pixar even involved in Toy Story 5? Did an AI thing. I'm gonna need more evidence of that. And look, you can accuse stuff of being AI or using AI when you don't know for sure, because you can't really prove it. I do the same thing with No Villains Are Safe. You can't really prove it that they do or do not use AI unless they left in a, let me rewrite that for you in a more conversational tone. Like if they left that in, then you could prove it. Spider-Man Brand New Day art book left in a thing that was concept art that had AI hallucinations, and that outed it, Like when I accuse No Villains Are Safe of being AI, I find specific things that our AI tells. I didn't like this shot. That's what you're saying? Is that the reason that this shot looked like this is because of AI? Are you insane? If AI was used in the process of this, then I again wouldn't put it past Disney. This whole AI first draft, human second draft, it's very dangerous. It can be done in a way that would go over people's heads. It could. But you need more evidence than I didn't like the shot. Because at that point, you're just being conspiratorial. That's a joke. That's insane.
Found by this random old couple who decided to take her to Emily's old house.
Somebody lost their toys. What's that? I said somebody lost their toys.
Very relevant footage. See, oh, he's going to clown on this.
They belong to an Emily.
Super convenient coincidence. Well, it's not really a coincidence because you said, as you pointed out, they well established that Emily's address was on Jesse's bootstrap. So which is it? Is it a coincidence or is it something that was just well established to be a thing that could happen? I don't like when the plot is propelled forward solely by convenient coincidence. Depends on the story. Is it a Vince Gilligan quote or is it something that Vince Gilligan repeated? It's like a Breaking Bad thing where it's basically the principle is a coincidence is good writing if it's bad for your hero, and it's bad writing if it's good for your hero. So let's just keep that in mind as we move forward, because coincidences happen in real life. And if it's a movie, things are going to happen in movies that are going to line up and are going to be coincidence because they're movies. You control them as the writer and you want to have stuff happen that's interesting, that is resonant. The fact that Jessie gets brought back to her old house because the address of Emily is on her bootstrap, and that happens by misunderstanding and coincidence, is meaningful, and that allows for the plot to progress. And I think just writing it off as that's a coincidence and saying it's just not. And you didn't think that, Alex Meyers. You didn't actually think that when you watch this movie. You're not that cynical. You're made cynical because you have to be cynical in order to make these awful videos.
It would mean so much more, I think, if Jessie herself decided to go back or needed to go back to.
You just said that you didn't like that Jessie's still hung up on Emily, which is not a thing. Or is not that much of a thing. And it is a thing. She does still care about Emily, but she's not hung up on Emily. But you're saying now that she should choose to go back to Emily's house? No, the whole point is that she ended up there by circumstance. If she chose to go back to Emily's house, it would have been a different movie. Jessie's moved on. Jessie wants to be Bonnie's toy. That's her whole motivation. Her just happening to end up at Emily's house is supposed to not be in her control.
Even in Toy Story 1 with the Pizza Planet car, the fact that it's there is a coincidence. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it is a coincidence that the Pizza Planet car is there. You're right. That's a way bigger coincidence than the Jesse thing, actually. That they happen to find the car that's going to the place where Andy and his mom are also going. That's a huge coincidence.
But then Woody and Buzz actively try to get in and use it to solve their problem. Toy Story.
That doesn't make it better or worse. That just means that in one scene, a character made an active choice, and in another scene, they didn't. And depending on where you are in the plot, that is fine. The only criticism of whether or not a character does or does not make an active choice is if said character doesn't make any active choices throughout the movie, which is not the case for Jessie. Jessie makes plenty of active choices throughout Toy Story 5. So just because she doesn't make an active choice in this scene doesn't mean that she's not an active protagonist. You just read somewhere, or you just kind of know that in writing, it's like, oh yeah, characters are supposed to make active choices. And you're applying that to a scene that doesn't deserve to be judged like that to try and make yourself sound smart.
But so now Jesse's back at Emily's house, which turns out has just been down the road this whole time.
It is not down the road. It's like across town. Wait, like you're just lying. There's like a shot where she sees how far Emily's house is from where she needs to go. I mean, it's not like in another state. Like it's in kind of the same county, at least. This is a whole part of the movie. Like you're just lying.
Woody and Jessie were from completely different places, you know? Like Al's been searching the globe for all these toys, but then turns out she was just 15 minutes away the whole time. So
wait, why is that bad writing? What do you mean? Al's been searching the globe for these toys. That's such a stupid criticism. Okay, so like imagine, like I'm a Pokemon card collector, right? Here's like the original 4, the starter Pokemon. You know, you got Pikachu, Blastoise, Charizard, Venusaur. So let's say I wanted to find like the first editions of all these cards. Well, this one actually is first edition. But let's say I wanted to find like the first editions of these cards. Like these 4 cards, if you got them all in the first editions, especially the Charizard, they would probably be valuable on par of how the Woody and Jessie, the Woody's Roundup toys are valued in Al's Toy Barn. Like a life-changing amount of money they would be worth if these were the first editions. You could probably reasonably find someone who has the Charizard and the Blastoise coincidentally in the same county, maybe even the same town, depending on where you are. That's not unbelievable at all. He got 2 of the pieces of his collection within close proximity to one another. And like, what do you want? In order to preserve this mythos of Al's Toy Barn Al searching the globe for Jessie, in order for you to preserve this fantasy you have of this character, the writers need to completely uproot the plot point of Jessie being at Emily's old house in this story in Toy Story 5. For what? To preserve? Well, I think Al like searched the globe, but they were actually like in the same county. CinemaSins, ding. Look, I don't think you have to be someone who could write a movie in order to be a movie reviewer. You know, but like this person could never write a movie. They would never. They would have no idea what to do. Imagine a movie script written by this guy. It would be drivel. And do you think they would think about that stuff? You think they would think about the mythos of the character got their... No. They'd have the same... They'd have worse contradictions if they made their own movie.
But like she hears the old lady say that they're taking her to Emily's house. She knows she's at Emily's house, but she doesn't really seem to care that much. And like
She doesn't seem to care that. She doesn't seem to care that much that she's at Emily's house. Remember, guys, she doesn't care that she's at Emily's house.
No, we cannot be here.
She doesn't care where she is at all. She doesn't care like, what are you talking about? Did we watch the same movie? Why are you showing me footage of the movie I watched? You clearly didn't watch this movie. Maybe the movie you watched was generated by AI, and that's why you think it.
And they have all these new characters who are barely in the movie and don't even do anything.
And then they have all these new characters who are barely in the movie and don't do anything. Yeah, they're called side characters. they're not meant to be important to the plot. They're meant to be important to that one scene and then be gone. That is, Pixar keeps sidelining all its best characters. All right, let's hear what you got to say.
This brings up another big issue I have with this movie, and it's the same one they had with the fourth one also, which is like, so we have all of Andy's old toys who do nothing, and then we have all of Bonnie's toys who do nothing. And instead, they introduce a bunch of new toys for some reason.
How long has it been since your Blaze last had tea?
Could I give them that? That they sidelined the older toys in favor of basically just being Jesse, Buzz, Woody, and then they have the new. I mean, a lot of movies do that when they've had a lot. Like, they didn't need, like, Rex and Mr. Potato Head are not like major players, but they weren't really major players in Toy Story 1 either. Like, they kind of, like, they had a little bit more of a presence in Toy Story 1 and 2. Like, they were in Buzz's squad, you know, like Buzz went to rescue him and they all went on the journey. Like, there's a little bit of that. I think it's one of those things where, like, you can point it out, but you need to actually say how it harms the story. Because the point of these new toys here is that they're Blaze's toys and they're left out because of technology. So, like, having that be seen by other toy, like, you can't portray this with Bonnie's toys. Because so Andy's toys are now Bonnie's toys. So Andy's toys and Bonnie's toys are one unit. They're one group. Bonnie is the one who is currently transitioning into using technology, and the toys are starting to be forgotten. Blaze's toys, which are in this scene, are because Blaze is a little older and she's already been giving up her toys. So Blaze's toys are a representation of what happens when the kid gets a little older and starts abandoning the toys. That is supposed to be the point of Blaze's toys as compared to Bonnie's toys. So when you just say flippantly, yeah, like there's all these new characters and they're not using the old characters, that sounds smart in the moment. It sounds like a criticism, but then it doesn't hold water. It doesn't hold up to scrutiny because there's a story reason why those other toys aren't as much in the story and that these ones are. And you just said that these toys are barely in the movie. Like, you just said that they were barely in the movie anyway, which they are. They're not in the movie that much. The other ones, I guess maybe he's talking about, there's like the toilet paper toy who's like a main character.
Toys, they introduce themselves as the toys that were left behind because their kid uses tech device. Jessie meets the kid, Blaze, and she takes a liking to her specifically because she's not inundated with technology that much.
No. You're me when I don't watch the movie. Blaze specifically learns to appreciate toys through Jessie. So that's the point, is that Blaze started to use technology and she learned to appreciate toys again through Jessie. Literally, this is like that BoJack Horseman scene. It was a flashback to when he was like doing his sitcom and he was like a big jerk. You know, and he was saying in the scene, he was like, how come in this one scene I say I'm never going to wear a sweater, and then in the next scene I'm wearing the sweater? And the writer's like, well, that's the joke. And he's like, don't tell me what the joke is. I need you to rewrite this so the scene makes sense. And it's like, that's literally what you're doing right now. Like, you're saying that the character development is what doesn't make sense.
We've been forgotten because Blaze uses technology. Oh, dang, Blaze would be a good friend for Bonnie because she doesn't use that much technology. Which is it, Pixar? But anyway, so
it's both of those things. It's both of those things. Which is a Pixar? It's the first thing. It's the first thing in that scene. And then it's the other thing. There's a whole scene where Jessie sets up like a whole, like Jessie does all she can do in her power to convince Blaze to play with them so that Blaze changes her perspective. This is majorly focused on in the narrative.
He wanted to focus so much on Jessie and Emily, then like I think they should have had Emily find Jessie, or Emily's daughter, who's now middle-aged with her own.
Holy bad writing. No, dude. Didn't you just say that you don't like when there's like conveniences, like random coincidences? That would be such a coincidence for Emily to suddenly find Jessie. And no, that's the point. The point is that Jessie finds out that Emily named her daughter Jessie. And that's the closure. The closure is Jesse still meant something to Emily, even years after she wasn't her toy anymore. That's the closure. Actually seeing Emily would only take away from that. Ridiculous.
Blaze, who also is not really tied to anything and anyone and only shows up like halfway through the movie anyway.
Who's not tied to anything. She's the one who lives in the house now. Emily doesn't live there anymore. They sold the house to another family. Blaze is the daughter of that family. And then she becomes friends with Bonnie through that connection because she returns Jesse to Bonnie. And that's how they become friends. She's not really connected to anyone or anything. It's two connections, actually. One that is to a previous character and another that is to a character who comes by later.
This movie does the thing that I personally don't like, which is where it has a bunch.
I personally don't like. I like when movies are about fewer ideas that are more deeply explored. Toy Story 1 versus Toy Story 5, for example. Blaze and Bonnie go through the same kind of arc where they learn to have a balance between technology and playing with toys, which you just denied. You just acted like Blaze was just someone who just likes toys inherently, instead of someone who goes through a parallel arc to Bonnie. I like when movies are about fewer ideas that are more deeply explored. First of all, that is not inherently true. I guess I like personally, but like, we all know what someone's actually like. I don't care what you personally, who cares what someone personally likes? Like, that's not worth making a video over. I'm sorry. You personally like something. Tell your friends then. YouTube videos that review movies should be about like actually talking about things about movies that make them better or worse. I don't care what you personally like. I personally like television dramas. That's what I personally like. I review SpongeBob mostly. I like SpongeBob. I like cartoons. I love cartoons. I like hour-long television dramas more, but that's not my business. My business is not, first of all, critiquing hour-long television dramas. They're usually much better written, so it's less interesting to deeply analyze them because I like to analyze stuff that has a lot of problems so that I can more so teach people what not to do. I've never said in any of my videos, like, I personally like hour-long TV dramas. Why would I say that? What's the point of that? Okay, I personally like them. It's got nothing to do with when I might as well say that. I might as well, when I'm talking about a SpongeBob episode, I might as well, instead of actually like criticizing the writing and like talking about like, oh yeah, like, you know, this modern SpongeBob episode is so much less impactful because in this scene they do this, but if you look at this classic scene, that's how they do this, and that demonstrates how the character is feeling so much more effectively. Like, instead of me doing that, what if I just instead went, you know, I personally like when shows are like The Sopranos and they're like really like dark and gritty and they really like get at, you know, deep themes about like you know, about like crime and stuff. Like, I really like when shows do that. You know, that's just my personal opinion, is I just like when shows do that and then have the video be SpongeBob makes no sense. and then I just say, I personally like it's asinine. Like, I don't care what you personally like, but it's not about what you personally like, because that's not what he's saying. He's saying that movies that have fewer ideas that are more deeply explored are better. That's what he's saying. He doesn't really believe that. He doesn't really believe anything. He just needs to say something to keep the time slot going. He doesn't care about movies at all. He doesn't care about any of this, but he just needs to say that to pad the time. But he's saying that he believes that personally. But what you mean when you say that is you think that they're better, and they just aren't. Like, they just aren't inherently better. You know, like, one movie could be better because it has a lot of different subplots that work together and tie together. Like, would you say that about like Pulp Fiction? Like, would you be like, you know, Alex Meyers saying Pulp Fiction, you know, like, it was kind of all over the place. It had all these different things going on. Like, I like when movies are about fewer ideas that are more deeply explain why it wasn't effective. Like, I kind of get what you're trying to say, that it's like, oh, like a lot of these like modern movies, they like go all over the place with like different things that are happening. Toy Story 5 didn't really do that. I mean, I guess it like they had the different buzzes, and I don't know. It seemed like it was all in that one theme. And I think he just wasn't paying enough attention to notice how all of the subplots in Toy Story 5 actually all had to do with technology. So he's just giving it this standard that it's not actual. Like he just thinks that the Blaze subplot and that the Buzz army subplot, he just thinks that these subplots have nothing to do with Lilypad, that they might as well have been 3 different movies that were just crammed into one so they could pad the time. In a way, it's kind of projection, because it's not far off from because he would do that as a creator. As a creator, he just wants to put in whatever it is that's why sometimes he talks about, oh, I didn't like this part that was animated like this. Oh, this part's silly. Oh, make silly joke. Oh, and then he criticizes the plot in between that. It's projection. He does that. He knows that as a creator, his priority is to get one over and to just get you to watch it for as long as you can. So he thinks that this movie is doing that. Because of that. I don't know. I guess that's speculation. I guess that's a bit, it could just be a bunch of cynical writers just saying whatever, but I feel like there's a bit of a parallel there.
Bonnie gets addicted to technology, but the actual issue is her getting bullied by the other girls.
Dude, you think those things aren't related? Are you out of your mind? Again, to tie it to Pulp Fiction. In Pulp Fiction, they get this suitcase, but they also shoot these guys. Why do they shoot these guys? It's just about getting the suitcase. I like when movies are more focused on one thing. Dude, they shot the guys in the scene because they had the suitcase. The suitcase is the reason that they had conflict. It's the same thing with this. The iPads are the reason that the girls are bullying her. It's peer pressure for her to fit in.
Happened for literally any other reason. It doesn't really gel.
It could have happened for literally any other. Yeah, but it happened for that reason. Because that reason is what the movie is about. Are you serious?
Atlas, Snappy!
Morty?
Is it really you?
Oh boy, more new characters in this movie that already has 50 characters on stamp.
Those other characters are important. They're more characters who are the technology characters. Yes, they need multiple characters that are devices to show the perspective of devices. They're important to the plot. You see them be sad that they're being replaced, which shows that them and Jesse have common ground in the narrative. You're actually saying that they're like Blaze's other toys? Blaze's other toys don't really come back again. Maybe they come back once or twice. But these are not major characters. Blaze's toys are one-scene characters. The other devices are important to the whole story.
Boy, more new characters in this movie that already has 50 characters on standby, begging for things to do.
What should these characters have been? Should it have been Mr. Potato Head and Rex? Should they wouldn't have worked as those characters. You just said that the movie is not enough about the conflict between toys and technology. That is what you just said was the criticism, which is false. But you said that that's what you don't like about it. And then you're mad that they introduced new characters who are relevant to that theme because this movie already has 50 characters on standby. Okay, but it doesn't though. Because those other 50 characters are not in the house. And they're not tech characters. Only those characters and the way that they were made would do what they needed to do in the story. Why is Woody? Oh boy.
To be back.
Oh, shiny.
What?
Nothing.
Look what Bonnie's done with the place. She really let things go.
Oh my.
He's bald and he's fat, LOL, am I right?
Yeah, it's important to the story. He's balding and he's fat. It's because, so he's a toy, so toys don't really age, but because Woody doesn't have an owner anymore, he's constantly out and about. The reason that he's fat is because his stuffing is rearranged. And the reason that he has a bald spot is because the hair, the paint on his hair is going away. It's a way of showing that he's aging. I think that was pretty resonant, that Woody was shown to be aging. Because if you've been watching Toy Story your whole life, Toy Story came out before I was born. So I'm not aging in the way that Woody is, but still there are people who watch Toy Story, if they were even 10 when the first one came out, Toy Story was 30 years ago. If you were 10 when the first Toy Story came out, you're probably pushing 40 already. It's just kind of another way of Pixar being Pixar is aging with you. Kind of like how Monsters University, if you were a kid when Monsters Inc. came out, Monsters University would have come out when you were in college, which was actually my exact experience. Monsters Inc. came out in 2002, so I was a little kid when I saw Monsters Inc. And Monsters University came out I think a year before I went to college. I think I wasn't in college yet, but right around that time. So it's kind of that. But it also does show again, Toy Story is about mortality. Like it is. Like there is a part of Toy Story where it's like they will die one day, just as people do. And showing Woody age, even though he's technically not aging, is a way of communicating that.
Which doesn't even make sense because he's been an old toy this whole time. And like in the timeline of the Toy Story,
he had an owner before Toy Story 4. He was an old toy. He was taken care of. Like, let's say he was like Andy's grandpa's toy or something, because he's vintage. Like, if he was Andy's grandpa's toy and then got passed to like Andy's mom and then passed to Andy himself, because the mom says it's an old family toy. And then Al fixed him up. And then he was Andy's, and then he was Andy's for like another 12-ish years. And then he was Bonnie's. Woody's been a lost toy. They show this in Toy Story 4 where Bo Peep has her arm comes off and she tapes it back together. If you're a lost toy, you don't have an owner. So you're always like in the street and you're always like out and about. Like you're going to get more damaged. Like this is just a joke. Like you just did you watch? I thought you watched all the movies before this
series. Bonnie is now 8. So this movie is like a year and a half after the 4th one. So why is Woody like this now? Also, Jesse.
Because he was a lost toy for multiple years.
He is literally the same exact age as Woody. But putting all that aside, Woody is just completely...
Because Jesse still has an owner.
Gotta bring back Woody because it'll make the movie more marketable and we'll make more money. But
you know, there almost could have been a good criticism there. Like there is... I could hear out an argument that Woody didn't need to be in Toy Story 5. I could hear out an argument for that. I could. He's not making it. He's not properly making it. I don't know if I think that. I really don't know. Because we know that, like, Toy Story, Woody is so marketable for Toy Story that, like, Woody not being in Toy Story 5 would have been a pretty big deal. Not even just for the fact that he's voiced by Tom Hanks, but, like, it would have been a pretty big deal for him to not be in Toy Story 5. The fact that he wasn't the main character of Toy Story 5 was a big deal. I could hear arguments that beyond all of that, maybe they could have just let it be that Woody was a lost toy and they just never heard from him. I could see that. I think the movie still could have worked. I think it would have been a hard sell. But anyway, he's not arguing it properly.
Movies have always been about nostalgia. The first movie is, Andy playing with a bunch of old toys. The second movie is all about, like, Woody's old show and his, like, old life and all that. And the third movie is very much about growing up, moving on from childhood, but looking back at that with nostalgia. Even the fourth movie, there's an antique store with Gabby, who's, the same age as Woody.
That's loose. Saying that it's about nostalgia. That pretty much only applies to the second one. Antique stores are not nostalgia. Antique stores are antique stores. If you're 90, I guess antique stores could be nostalgic. Antique stores are usually from like a really long time ago. So don't give me that nostalgia. He's just trying to sound smart by saying that Toy Story is about nostalgia when it's not. The original Toy Story is the opposite. It's not about nostalgia at all. It's about wanting to enjoy a new thing.
Woody wasn't in the movie. Nothing would change at all.
I don't know if nothing would have changed. He's there. He does. I think you would have had to change the movie if Woody wasn't there. You would have had to do, like, I think it would. It's not like what he said. What did he say that was really stupid? Oh, he said that Lily Pad could have not been in the movie and it would have been the same movie. That is a joke. That is not true. If Lily Pad wasn't in the movie, it would just be a fundamentally different movie. I mean, it would still be Toy Story 5. It would still be the 5th Toy Story, but it wouldn't be about technology. It wouldn't be about all this. It wouldn't be the same movie. It would have just been a different movie called Toy Story 5. If Woody wasn't in the movie, I could see it being like the same movie, but you'd have to switch it around a bit. There is a bit of that stuff with Woody and Buzz where Buzz is coming into the leadership role, and that's a part of it. That's a part of that. I think really what it is that if Woody was not in the movie, there would need to be another character that went with Buzz to go get Jesse, who's kind of the confidant to Buzz. And there really wasn't a better candidate. Like he could have, like, what is it going to be? Rex, Mr. Potato Head? Like these are comic relief side characters. You got Woody. He's right there. Woody is Buzz's best friend. And Woody is also a character who, like, we know his deal. You would have had to elevate a different character into the role of like Buzz's best friend. Maybe Forky. If you were like, if they locked in, maybe Forky, because Forky was very sidelined in Toy Story 5 Forky was kind of sidelined in Toy Story 4 too. I don't think they really did that much with him, despite him being kind of in all the marketing. You talk about a character who was in a lot of the marketing who didn't do that much. That would be Forky.
The actual story being told is about how Bonnie is lonely and needs a friend, and Blaze is also lonely and wants a friend, and Jessie coming to terms with her feeling about Emily and like being wanted in general, which itself also mirrors Bonnie and Blaze's desire for friends. Everyone's basically going through the same thing. But all of this,
you like just got it. You like just got, he's like, yeah, so like even as I'm listening to that, I'm like, oh, you get what the movie is. He's like, yeah, so the movie is basically, it's like about how like Bonnie wants a friend and this girl Blaze wants a friend, and you know, Jessie's coming to terms with, you know, what it means to be wanted because she's feeling rejected by Bonnie in a way that's similar to how Emily rejected her. He didn't say that last part because he's not media literate enough to notice it, but he kind of got a good amount of what the story is. And then he just ends it with this.
Wanted in general, which itself also mirrors Bonnie and Blaze's desire for friends. Everyone's basically going through the same thing.
And then he ends it with everyone's basically going through the same thing. Didn't you just say, I like when movies are about fewer ideas that are more deeply explored? And then you say, yeah, so like the three main arcs in the movie are all parallel arcs. They're all like going through the same thing. That is a single idea that is deeply explored across three different characters who are going through similar things. That is the thing that you said that you liked about movies. Good writing is when characters go through the same kind of arc in parallel ways. That is what good writing looks like. Characters shouldn't go through unrelated arcs in the same movie. There's got to be like either they're parallel arcs or they're opposite arcs. Like why? Like that would just be two movies. Like, should Jessie have a motivation that's different from Bonnie's? It's like, you could say that about Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 is about Woody learning to let go, and it's about Andy learning to let go. And they're like basically going through the same thing. Yeah, that's what makes it good. That's why people cry at the end of Toy Story 3. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know? I don't think as many people cried at the end of this one, but, you know. I'm sure someone could have cried at the end of Toy Story 5. I wouldn't blame them.
All of this could have happened mostly the same way, whether Bonnie got an iPad or not. The movie would have...
No, it wouldn't have. I mean, yeah, well, you could say that about any movie. Like, you could say, like it just, you could tell the story through different means. Like, you could say the same thing about, like, Toy Story 1. You could be like, yeah, in Toy Story, Woody could have learned to be more humble in Toy Story 1 if, you know, he was replaced by a different toy than Buzz Lightyear. Yeah, sure. I guess Buzz Lightyear shouldn't have been in the first Toy Story movie. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, this arc could have been different if this arc was done differently. Yeah. Lots of things can be done differently and still be good. That doesn't mean that the original way it was done was bad.
Atlas and I are all compatible. See? And I could take a picture of you. Okay, act like a toy.
Okay.
And Atlas can add text to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we post it on the pond.
Tech is literally just magic, I guess. Okay.
Why can you attach a photo to an email on a potty training toy? Like, what would a 3-year-old learning how to use the toilet need the text for?
Because I bought it. I bought it when I watched the movie. I don't know. Like, sure, it's a little, I mean, I guess the way that I read it is that's not a normal feature of it, but it can connect to the internet. So because it's alive, it has a couple other capabilities that are a little beyond what it would normally be able to do. So this is like a potty training toy. I think it's supposed to connect to the internet because then the parents would be able to see when it's used. You know, you got to suspend your disbelief a little bit. I could maybe give him that criticism. I don't know. Again, I'd have to dig deep into it myself. I didn't raise that much of an eyebrow to it at first. I think it was an okay way to put it together. When you actually look at what the plot is trying to say, like thematically, I think it's fine.
Now, those of you with extremely high IQ and vast intellect will probably...
Oh boy. Self-Flatulence Enjoyers Association. Oh, he's mad. He's so mad. He's so mad at people with media literacy. Let's see what it is.
You say, oh, but the toys coming to life is fine though. Interesting. But like to me,
Oh no, that's not even like. Someone in chat said that the toys come to life themselves. I wouldn't say that to explain that away. Actually, I thought he was gonna say what my actual response would be, which is you have to focus on, or you have to consider what this is towards the story and weigh that with the logical inconsistency. Nah, he's like not wrong. I think he's a little straw man-y with it. But yeah, no, he is correct. So let's see if he explains it right.
to me, that's not the same thing because the movies are about real toys in the real world who come alive. Like the toys are still bound by real world laws of physics and all that. Like Buzz can't fly because he's a toy.
He's kind of right, kind of wrong. What I would also say to that is, like, I don't think this is too much of a contrivance, the toilet paper thing being able to connect to the internet. I'd say Alex is completely correct that this is nonsense. All right, let's just take him at face value. I'm not going to say he definitely is, but let's take him at face value and let's say this is nonsense. The toilet paper thing should not be able to send an email. He's totally right. That's a logical inconsistency. It is true you would not be able to explain it away just by saying that the toys are magic because they come alive. Because the movie has established itself, it's communicated to the audience that it is a world where toys come to life. That has been communicated. But it is not communicated to be a world where the toilet paper thing can magically communicate with others. Because magic exists in one way doesn't mean that anything illogical is on the table. That is true. However, I could still kind of defend the toilet paper thing. And I can kind of defend it in the realm of the toys are alive. Because again, if the toilet paper machine can connect to the internet at all, which clearly it's established to be able to, I would say the purpose of it connecting to the internet is that during like the potty training, it would like send some kind of like notification to the parents that like can keep an eye on that. I don't know. Or like that gives the parents an idea of the progress. If it connects to the internet at all, I can kind of buy that it could send an email because then it just is connected to the internet. Right? Like can we all buy that? You know, like that is not a stretch on the level of it's complete magic. Like it uses the fact that the toys are alive in order to do it. But I think that there's a bit there that can make a little bit more sense rather than it just being, oh, well, like the toys are magic. So like anything's possible, using the magic of the world to extrapolate that thing. And that's why it made sense to me when I watched the movie. It's not so much that this machine sends emails. Usually it's that it can connect to the internet and from there it can send emails.
Tech toys that can just do anything and everything you need whenever the story needs it. There's no reason.
Well, they can't do anything and everything they need. It just can do that. It can do that very limited thing, which is send an email. And then from there, they have to navigate that limited rule set. So it's like, I get what you're saying, but like, it's not that, it's not that convenient.
And Atlas can add text to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we post it on the pond.
Oh yeah, the GPS added text to it. I think that's kind of another one that like a GPS can create text because it gives you text on where you're going, but a GPS wouldn't be able to add text to an image. But if a GPS was alive, it could theoretically combine that it can create text for its intended purpose to add text to anything. So it's kind of the same extrapolation you have to use for the GPS in order for the toilet paper thing to make sense.
Bonnie is embarrassed because she's getting bullied for playing with toys. So she wants the toys back, but she's pretending like she doesn't because, you know, that's how kids are.
Because, you know, that's how kids are. I thought you said that she wasn't a very good character. Now you're saying that they accurately portray her as a kid?
Because of all you darn devices making kids act older. You stole all our time.
Now, see, this is actually, I think, a very valid point. Like I've been saying, I wish they'd focus a little more on this kind of stuff directly, but then the
I
movie
thought you didn't want there to be technology in the movie.
has like 15 other storylines and doesn't really
15 other storylines. All of these things are related. Every single one of these things are related. The Buzz Army shows them with new technology, and they learn to come into their own as toys. No friends, internet addiction, Blaze, no friends, Bonnie's tech addiction, no friends. Like these things are unrelated when some of them are literally the same words. Kids don't play with toys is connected to tech addiction. Jesse's feelings about Emily is connected to no friends, connected to tech addiction. She blames the tech. Smarty Pants' revival, that's tech, and that's related to Jesse's feelings about Emily because Smarty Pants was also rejected, much like Jesse was. These are all related. These are all related to the plot. I could maybe give you Buzz's proposal, but I bet if I dug deeper, I could probably see how Buzz's arc is connected to the rest of it too.
Spend as much time on this aspect as I personally would have liked. To the famous tire swing from the montage memory, which turns out is just in the backyard. So, like, why did we see them driving to and from into the second movie? Like, it's miles away.
Whatever. CinemaSins ding. I don't care. I mean, she had to take a horse. You never drove to a place that's not that far from your house? We had like a park that was like in walking distance from my childhood home. We drove there sometimes. Take your CinemaSins ding. You can have it. You can have it. She drove there in Toy Story 2 and she took a horse there in Toy Story 5. Movie ruined. Ding. This video was so worth being made for that one point. One inconsistency.
It turns out all the buzzes from the completely unnecessary C-plot also arrive at the same time. And so
yeah, the C-plot does seem really completely unnecessary when you ignore all of the other parts where they show it and it's thematically relevant. Like the part I said earlier about how one of them gets taken by a kid and they learn like what it means to be owned by a kid.
I'm getting a major signal from all you dudes.
I've got full bars.
Me too. I can map for miles. These guys are their own height.
Here it comes. The Buzz Lightyears have Wi-Fi hotspots. CinemaSins ding. CinemaSins ding. Yeah.
Speaking of insanely forced plot devices.
No, seriously, tech is magic because the Buzz Lightyears have hotspots. I mean, yeah, I don't know of a toy that has a hotspot, but like, I don't care, man. Like, I don't know. Like, all I need is I need you to tell me how it messed up the story. Because it made sense in the moment. Like, even if like there aren't toys in real life that have hotspots, when they said it in the moment and all of the buzzes at the Wi-Fi things pop up, you're like, yeah, they're newer Buzz Lightyears. They got like Wi-Fi because they're like new Buzz Lightyears. So even if that's not a thing that exists in the real world, you're going to tell me that it's something that personally baffled you? I personally was baffled by this. I can't believe I'm doing the whole video. This is like torture. I did not think that this would take this long.
Buzzes are all Wi-Fi hotspots that also magnify each other's Wi-Fi signal, which also Smarty Pants and everyone else can...
They did not say that. They just said that they're Wi-Fi hotspots. When did they say that they magnify each other's Wi-Fi signals? They just said that they were Wi-Fi hotspots.
I think this is just me being nitpicky, okay? But like, if you're gonna have...
I don't think it's that you're being nitpicky. I think it's that you're being nitpicky so that you don't have to actually talk about the movie and criticize it. Because when you go out of your way to try and criticize only logical inconsistencies, it comes off like you're an actual reviewer when you're not actually saying anything of substance. That's my issue with you.
Be about real world technology like iPads and Wi-Fi. And then the technology is just straight up magic. Like
it's not it's not magic. Hotspots are real. You could theoretically put a hotspot in a toy. I mean, the Buzz Lightyears are drones. Like, I think that these, you know what? I'm actually going to defend it a little more. I don't know if something actually exists that like is a toy that has a hotspot in it, like these Buzz Lightyears in this movie. I think I can defend it though. I think that they're just supposed to be like really insanely expensive collector's items. Because they're drones, they have a hotspot, they do all this stuff. I think it would basically be, because Andy's an adult at this point. So I think it's basically if someone was a kid when the original Buzz Lightyear was released, now there's like a novelty, like drone, Wi-Fi, cool Buzz Lightyear that's for adults. And that's what these Buzz Lightyears are. I think I buy it just fine. They're not, calling them magic is asinine. You could say that it's a kind of technology that doesn't really exist, but the movie has never said that something is magic. Like even like this like potty training thing being like it connects to Wi-Fi. Like maybe that's not a thing where there's a potty training device that connects to Wi-Fi. I'm pretty sure it is. I could see one that would like text a parent's phone. But let's say that's not real. It's not unbelievable that there's one that would. Like, that's not magic. You could theoretically create that. You could theoretically create an action figure with a Wi-Fi hotspot in it. Like, you just take some, like, my phone is smaller than Buzz Lightyear, and it has a Wi-Fi hotspot in it. So why can't Buzz Lightyear have a Wi-Fi hotspot in it? It's not magic. It's just not something that would practically exist. And real quick, I'd like to give a thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members. If you'd like to support the channel and get your name up here, either join below for channel memberships or for Patreon, which has some extra perks, check the link in the description.
I'm a new Buzz Lightyear. I'm a Wi-Fi hotspot that hasn't been set up yet, and I don't know the Wi-Fi password for this house. Yeah, so anyway, that's how we're going to make like...
Wait, no, if he's a Wi-Fi hotspot, he doesn't need to connect to their house because they were saying that they connected to the Buzz Lightyear Wi-Fis. You don't even know what they said that they were. The Buzzes themselves are the Wi-Fi. They're not connecting to the Wi-Fi. They don't need to know the password of the house's Wi-Fi. They are the Wi-Fi. They don't need to know the password of themselves because they are themselves. They could just allow them to connect because presumably, I mean, this is where we're getting into magic territory. If you literally are the hotspot, I think you'd have control over it, over who could access it. I think at that point you can use the magical explanation.
$14 trillion at the box office without even trying. Well, that's perfect, Johnson. Then we can...
Without even trying, the projection.
That's how we're going to make like $14 trillion at the box office without even trying. Well,
we're going to make $14 trillion at the box office without even trying. Says the guy who makes presumably millions on YouTube without even trying. Like the projection. You could have criticism of Toy Story 5 without even trying is just not fair. That is just insulting. This reminds me of the thing you said where he's like, it might as well have been made with AI. I think at the very least, and this is what makes Toy Story 5 kind of difficult to criticize, is again, that there are good elements to it. It's good that there are movies like Toy Story 5 that are still around, that there are movies that people still put work into, that still care about, that they still care about making. And Alex Meyers, because he's cynical, because he's someone who just tries to put out content to get that bag, he thinks that everyone else is doing it. Because why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he think that everyone else is doing it? He believes that he's not capable of doing it because he refuses to put in the work to learn how. He thinks that everyone else is doing the exact same thing.
Emily named her daughter after me.
Oh man. Dude, I can't even be mad. I just feel bad for him. That's just so sad that you would look at this moment that is like made to resonate in a way that is emotional and to cynically put forced emotional moment. I don't know if he really feels this way. I think like, let's take him at face value because there's two ways I could look at this. Either he doesn't care about any of this. A writer wrote this, a writer put it in and just said, say forced emotional moment. It sounds like a criticism. And then that's just kind of the end of it. But let's just take it at face value. Can you skip it like a few seconds, please? I think you need to look at, I think the very fact that you are uncomfortable with this frame is why I need to keep it on this frame. I'm going to take him at face value here. Let's say he actually sat in the movie theater and this moment played where she learned that Emily named her daughter Jessie. And his thought was, forced emotional moment. I just can't imagine having that cynical of a view of the world. I can't even like make fun of him for that. Like that just means that you have a severe lack of emotional intelligence. I think it's most likely that it's just BS. I think he's just BSing. I think he's just saying this because he needs to find criticisms of the movie. The narrative is Toy Story 5. There's too many. Toy Story should have ended at 3. I'll just say it's bad. And then from there, he finds moments and he just puts this moment as bad. Gotta be some kind of level of cynical to do this for this long, this kind of YouTube channel.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like this part is...
Oh, does he have reasoning?
So stupid to me. Her daughter's name...
Why is it stupid?
Jessie, because that was her favorite toy that she threw away when she was like 13. Hello, this is my...
Yes. Wait, that makes so much sense. What are you talking about? She regretted getting rid of Jessie when she was a kid. And then when she grew up and matured, She was like, oh, remember that doll? I loved that doll. And then she named her kid Jessie after the doll that she had when she was a kid. Or maybe the doll did mean something to her and she just got rid of it. Maybe she was just like, like I don't really need it anymore. She also donated it. So maybe it was something where it's like, you know, like it says donations when she got rid of it. Like there's a ton of ways that this can make sense. Where she's still, like, you're just finding things to criticize about it, to say it's a forced emotional moment. Dude, like, just give it up. You're fighting something that is bigger than you. You're trying to say that the moment works. I'm sorry, it works. The owner who gave up Jessie named her daughter Jessie because Jessie still meant something to her even all those years later. It represents how even if you're not in someone's life anymore, you can still mean something to them. Don't be heartless. Like that is a meaningful statement to make in a movie. Don't give me your stupid cartoon faces to act like it doesn't make sense.
My daughter Jessie and my son Easy Bake Oven. Jessie's whole story in this movie.
And my son Easy Bake Oven, Mr. just does not pay attention to the movie. Dude, the toys that are the dolls mean something to the kids who play with them. What are you talking about? The dolls are like characters. The dolls mean something to them. And Easy Bake Oven doesn't. And Easy Bake Oven is like a tool.
This emotional hit comes out of nowhere. It feels like there's no build.
You just said, or not just said, you said a lifetime ago. I feel like I have been talking about this video for over 4 hours. If you're watching this on the podcast channel, it's been cut down, but that's where I'm at right now. Is this the most time I've ever spent talking about one video? He was complaining earlier that they mention Emily too much in this movie. But now he's saying that it comes out of nowhere. So which is it? Jessie being afraid of being abandoned is the whole point of the movie with Bonnie. Because she's being replaced by the iPad. So Jessie realizes that since Emily named her daughter Jessie, that Bonnie will still... like that she'll still mean something to Bonnie even if Bonnie doesn't play with her anymore.
The scene isn't some kind of payoff to what they've been building to, other than Jessie seeing the same two memories of Emily over and over again. For example,
it's a payoff to her arc. He thinks that what Jessie feels about Emily can't be applied to what she feels about Bonnie. That's what he thinks. He thinks that those things are unrelated. He actually doesn't understand that those things are connected. Holy lack of emotional intelligence.
I think it would have worked better if they had Jessie having more memories while she's in the house, or just having the house itself.
I thought you didn't like that she was having memories. You said that there was too much focus on Emily. Now you're saying that they needed more in order for that moment to work? Which is it? It's just going through the motions writing. It's literally just whatever is the thing that he can say about the moment that he's on, that he's talking about, that sounds like a criticism, he'll say, with no regard of how those things can contradict each other.
In the first movie, like the house itself becomes a character, if that makes sense. Or something they could have done would be to not show us Emily.
Such a like trying to be pretentious. You know, the house in Toy Story, the Sid's house, it almost becomes a character on its own. That's such a like, there's a way that you could say that is like not like pretentious, you know, where you could say like the house, the location feels like a character, like the time period feels like a character in and of itself. Like I get that. The way he said it was not that. He just said that because he thought it sounded smart.
Emily's face until Jessie opens the box. And this could be symbolic of Jessie finally coming to terms with the trauma of being abandoned, and like now she's confronting Emily, so to speak. But as the movie is, I personally...
Now she's confronting Emily. So he's saying that like, she's not confronting, she's not mad at Emily. She's let it go. I mean, maybe she's like a little mad. I don't think she's mad at Emily. I think she lets it go.
Felt that there was no real breadcrumbing to this conclusion. It just kind of happens. Like nothing in the movie is actively leading.
It just kind of happens.
And even then, the movie doesn't really respect the emotion of the moment, because like right as soon as it happens, they immediately cut to a joke of everyone showing up on Blaze's toy horses. And Buzz shows up on a fancy Pegasus.
How long is that? That could be a valid criticism where like they don't want to let emotional moments sit. This moment's not like that super funny. I mean, it's a little funny that Buzz is riding on the Pegasus, but I feel like the moment emotionally still resonates because they're all coming to save her. So like it's still kind of an emotional moment. I don't know.
Silly. Compare this to the second movie when we first get Jessie's story. It has one of the best Disney related songs maybe ever. It's very emotional, it's very impactful, and after it's done, the movie...
It's very emotional because he's seen other YouTube videos that talk about how emotional that scene in Toy Story 2 is because this guy has never had an original thought in his life. So he can speak positively of Toy Story 2 because he sees that Toy Story 2 is viewed positively, but Toy Story 5 is viewed more mixed, so he leans into negative because that's what's going to get him more views. No original thoughts, nothing. This person is a vessel in which it's to compare him to AI. That is a comparison to AI, much like AI that is just a vessel of different opinions that is regurgitated in order to retain attention. That's Alex Meyers in this moment. And that's how you compare human-made work to AI. Oh, okay. So I forgot he said this at the beginning. So he's bringing this up. I don't know if that applies though. No. So if it was this quote, if it was the worst of this quote, they never would have done the moment where she finds out that Emily's daughter is named Jessie at all. Like, they would have just not done it. Like, because there's a bunch of moments in Toy Story 5 that are emotionally resonant. I don't know. I don't know what this quote is. I don't see this quote in action in Toy Story 5 really that much. I don't know. I would have to know more about what this quote is or what its problems are. I don't think he's properly identifying where this quote ends up in action.
Entertainment Weekly dropped a story that there is indeed a deleted scene where Jessie meets an older Emily.
There's a deleted scene where Jessie... So, okay, there's a deleted scene where Jessie meets an older Emily. What is he using this as evidence for? His point?
Now, we don't have the full context for the scene, but it seems like, similar to everything in this movie, kind of just comes out of nowhere, like she just magically happens upon Emily playing with her...
They cut it! Why are you criticizing a scene they cut from the movie? Maybe they thought that too. That's why they cut it. They storyboarded it and went, it doesn't work with the story, and they cut it. You cannot judge a movie for a scene that they didn't even color in. By the way, did you know that the writer of this movie once wrote on a sticky note that they were going to have Andy come back and take Woody? Like, wouldn't that have been dumb? Yeah, that's probably why they didn't do it. Like, are they not allowed to consider alternate plot points that end up not working so they don't do them?
For me, personally, I would have liked...
I would have liked it if they deleted this scene, which was deleted. For you personally, what?
If Emily and her family were in the movie and more connected to what's happening. So
they're bad writers because the deleted scene had them suddenly stumble upon Emily, and that would have been too much of a coincidence. So instead, they should have had Emily just live in the house. All of that stuff about closure and how Jessie is supposed to move on from Emily and understand that one day she'll have to move on from Bonnie, all that stuff, it shouldn't be there in favor of she sees the old lady who owned her when she was a kid, and that's the end. End of the movie. Yeah. With the baby talk. My goodness.
And now we come to the entire reason why the army of stupid buzzes exists in this movie.
Punch!
Bro just hates the Buzz Lightyear army. I guess you would hate them if you skipped the scenes that made you care about them. There was like 3 scenes that he didn't acknowledge the existence of that made you care more about the Buzz army.
Lily.
Oh, he's gonna lose it. No fun allowed, guys. No fun allowed. Every toy in Toy Story has to be realistic. Yes, this toy probably wouldn't do very well if it was marketed. Yes, I know. Someone wouldn't really buy a action figure with Wi-Fi in it and that turns into a drone. But it works with the story and it works with the whimsy of the world. And I would rather have writers who want to push their stories and put stuff like this in it than have a generation of people like you, Alex Meyers, who do not care about their audience, just want to do whatever it is to get clicks or get views and hate fun. People always say I hate fun when I criticize modern SpongeBob for being like too like wacky or whatever. I do not hate fun. I just know that in order to have fun, you do have to have like rules. You do like, I know I sound like a nerd, right? It is true. You need to have rules to have fun. Like play any sport, any board game, any video game. They're fun because they have rules. They exist within a certain amount of rules. And movies and TV shows are the same. And I think that these Buzz Lightyears just enough push those rules, but still stay within them to be fun. Whereas something that I criticize in modern SpongeBob doesn't. It just breaks rules, just does whatever it wants. And that's not fun. Let's see what he has to say. Oh. Dude, imagine making this face towards this scene in this movie. Just no enjoyment. No enjoyment.
They fly now. Of course.
They fly now. No, that is not they fly now. Do not. Wait, he said they fly. That's so funny because I titled this video somehow Alex Meyers returned. He used the other bad line from Rise of Skywalker. That's so funny. He said they fly. They fly. Okay. They fly now. I don't think applies to this. They fly now means two things. It means you have something that previously couldn't fly that now can fly. So I can kind of give it they fly now. But I think it's also that the thing that is flying is kind of... No. They fly now is silly because he says they fly now, but it's Star Wars. So like the bad guys in Star Wars would easily possess the technology of flying. So like, why is it surprising that they fly now? And why are you pointing that out like it's a quip, you know, in this tense situation? That's what they fly now is. They fly now should be making fun of something where it's very obvious that it should fly and someone is pointing out that it flies like that's shocking. That's a more narrow usage, obviously. I don't make the rules. That was the original context. They fly now, like them being able to fly, the Buzz Lightyears, them flying is a surprise because Buzz Lightyear couldn't fly before, actually. That is a major plot point of Toy Story 1. I mean, I guess he does fly in the end, so it's actually a little magical that he flies. Well, whatever. It's the story earns it. But like, that's the whole thing is Buzz Lightyear has plastic wings. He can't fly because he's a toy. But now this technological based movie uses the very real existence of personal flying drones that didn't exist when Toy Story 1 came out, or at least didn't exist for like personal commercial use. So I guess maybe they did. Did they exist for personal commercial use back in the 90s? They certainly weren't as widespread as they were today. So it's using the existence of that new technology to have these Buzz Lightyears fly now. Fly now it just doesn't apply. It just doesn't apply. Not like how somehow Alex Meyers returns. So see how I called this stream somehow Alex Meyers returns, okay? Alex Meyers is a person like Palpatine, who was a guy that a lot of people didn't like, okay? A lot of people didn't like him. He did something bad. What Palpatine did was a bit worse, okay? I don't need to compare the two too much. Palpatine was worse than Alex Meyers, okay? But okay, so you got someone who was gone, you know, Palpatine being, you know, defeated by Darth Vader, and Alex Meyers being called out for being a sexist weirdo with his obsession video. And they were gone for a while. You know, Palpatine was gone. Rise of Skywalker. Somehow Palpatine returned. So you got a person who is disliked, a person who was gone for a certain amount of time because of the reason that they were disliked, and a person that returned. Somehow Alex Meyers returned. See how I used the bad Star Wars quote properly? They fly, and I have spent too much time on this.
People saying that this is like a conclusion to Buzz's story about not being able to fly. But in my opinion,
no, it's not. That would be an incorrect take. It has nothing to do with the main Buzz. No, it doesn't. The Buzz army and the Buzz Lightyear that we see are semi-related, but they're not related as far as an arc goes. He says, in my opinion, so much. It's specifically in this video, he's saying, in my opinion, a lot to overcompensate for the obsession video. He's scared. It really rattled him. Not enough for him to learn basic media literacy, but it rattled him enough to not do stuff. It rattled him enough to be careful, Didn't rattle him enough to meaningfully change.
Literally, guess what you can buy right now? But
I don't think they wrote this specifically to sell a toy. You know, I mean, they made Woody and Buzz toys. There's one right behind me. They made real Woody toys. You know, could be both. Something could be marketable and could be work in the story.
And it kind of betrays almost everything that made the Toy Story franchise so good in the first place, at least in my opinion. And
dude, stand by your points. It betrays everything that Toy Story stood for, in my opinion. Stand by your points. I think that what modern SpongeBob does betrays everything that SpongeBob is supposed to be. Not in my opinion. I think it's a fact. I think if you look at how the show is portrayed, it's that. Because I'm not a coward. And I can actually say what my points are. That was awful. That was so bad. Wow. It's funny because I thought at the beginning, he kind of did this with his Mario Galaxy movie video, where he had like a little bit of a thesis. He does kind of try to trick you into thinking that he's doing more than he actually is. Like at the beginning when he had that thing about like the kids were not making therapy or whatever, like that one quote about, I thought that was going to be something. I almost thought for a moment that he was going to shift a little bit. Yeah. So he's clearly adjusted. You know, he definitely toned down a lot of his weird jokes. Definitely not that Toy Story 5, I think, would have had a lot of opportunity for weird jokes, but so perhaps that's actually why, but it could just be that he knows that he's got to watch it with that. And I think he's internalized a little bit, people calling him a content farm, people saying that his takes are really shallow and all this. And he's trying to say more like media terms, but it's just not working. He's just not capable. He's just not capable of doing this. Like he's not cut out for this. He's not cut out for this work. I do not understand how he gets views. Other than he was in the right place at the right time. And he has a little avatar that moved at a time where fewer people reviewed movies on YouTube. Or maybe he had a couple big hits. You know, if he went, maybe I should go further back. Maybe I should go further back than his Descendants video and see if he had good videos 10 years ago. Maybe that could be a future stream. I don't know. But he somehow got to the point where he's a big enough YouTuber where he could just say anything and he can get 200K views. He could just say anything after a major controversy and still get 200K views. It's crazy how you can get to that point. Well, that's Alex Meyers. My goodness. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.